Friends, welcome. It's time for another good Monday. Even as the world crumbles around us, we here for the good time. Let's get it. It's Monday. Hey. Yeah, guys, go. Keep going. Monday, dude. Ah. Hello, folks. Hello. You know it's Monday, so it's going to be a ridiculously over-the-top introduction. Good to see you all. We have, oh, thank you. Even Mrs. Tomato was out here partying. Guys, the dancing. I mean, it's honestly, I think my introduction on the stream tends to be proportional to the amount of dancing that happens on Twitch before the stream starts. Thank you guys for being a fantastically fun group with that. Homies. All right, folks. Sorry, I keep yelling. Am I blowing out my mic today? Why does it sound like I'm going way over level? I sound really loud in my ears. Am I loud to you guys? My friends. Love to see you. Good to see you. Balton, Maverick, Mrs. Tomato. I saw y'all in here real early. I mean, Mrs. Tomato, you already know what's going on. A little bit of cheating there. Thocky, though. My friend, good to see you. Space Marine, AAK. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to Lovely Mondays. How was your weekend, folks? Anybody do something real special this weekend? Bebop. Good to see you in the chat. Daryl, Flopalore, Xanthurian. Shifty, my dude. Robert, good to see you. Oh, Rig in the chat, dude. I love to see a Rig in the chat. Hi, friend. Curtis. Oh, sevens, dude. Love the name, Ellis. Decent Fridge. Your name is just Decent Fridge. That's a good one, man. That's up there. Decent Fridge. Yeah, nah. I almost want to put that in Toast Gang just for the sake of it. Sound is good. Cool. Thank you, guys. Bert the Bird. Good to see you, dude. Spore 07, buddy. Welcome in. File in, folks. We got a good day of news, reviews, and doubloons. That doesn't really rhyme. Whatever. We got a day of stuff to talk about. Now, toes. Obviously, the financials are a big part of that. We already said we were going to get to that, but that's going to close today off because, well, for starters, giving myself some time to find somebody who actually knows what the heck this means. But also because I want to talk some ships and stuff, you know? The Pioneer has been mentioned in the monthly report after coming to the Roadmap Roundup, or not the Roadmap, CitizenCon last year. And I think it's worth talking about from the beginning until now. But I also wanted to talk about one of my favorite ships, a ship that they continuously ignore, and I think will be the downfall of them if they don't get it to us soon. The Vulcan. A beautiful concept, a fantastic ship, and possibly one of the big workhorses of the game if they do repair and refueling correctly. But before we get into that, I just want to say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Hey, the Poets. Good to see you, dude. Welcome into the stream, my friend. I saw you had a lovely time down in LA. Nasty Master. Thanks for the 6 months subbed up on Twitch. Tier 2. Tier 2, folks. That, honestly, thank you. Appreciate that. Paul, good to see you. Grackltooth. Dead Tired. Curious what you'll think of the financials. There seem to be a lot of hyperbole out there. Oh, dude. What's a good report, a good review without a little hyperbole? Greetings, Simon. Good to see you. It's a Kairu. Welcome in. Breezy. Can't wait till players can build small mining bases, both on planet and in space. You, me, and all of our moms, man. We all want that kind of that vibe. We all want to sit out there on a mining outpost, spitting into a golden tin can and pulling the liquid black gold out of the rock. Hey, Bolson, dude. You're fucking holy crap, man. All right. I see you 10 memberships in the YouTube chat. I raise you a spot on the Toes gang. Folks, this is the board to be on. Whoa. Huh? You think NASDAQ's important? You think Dow is important? That's the board to be on right there. No, seriously, thank you for the memberships over there. And everybody, if you just got a membership on YouTube, give them a shout out. Give them a thanks. Show some appreciation. You spreading the love. Hey, what's up, Ronan? How are you doing? Did they update the store today or something? Not that I know of. Maybe. I don't really follow that too closely. It is possible. If he does a good job, perhaps he can try to explain my bank account. Nope. Sorry, Rig, can't do that one. That's out of my financial knowledge. I think that comes down to less than financial knowledge, though, to be honest. Rig! You just asking me to explain your bank account to you, and then you go and dip into it. Thank you, dude. Appreciate you. That's not quite the same as... but it works. Thank you, my man. The board to be on. Mr. Riggs coming in orange, though. Sorry, today's one of my bad handwriting days. Next podcast with an accountant to read the financials. Yeah, we're working on something. 07 Cosmic. PK, good to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Literally PK, dude. Guys, y'all are already running the events, man. All right, PK's in blue then. That's not an A. Maybe I need to learn how to write a little better. Payback. Guys, I can't run out of board space now. I seriously, it's so funny how, like, when I was younger, I was panicking about needing to know cursive because the teachers in school were like, you gotta know cursive. They're gonna kick you out of your job if you don't know cursive. And then now it's like, I have to remind myself to practice freaking handwriting because I'm doing too much typing. Cursive? Do still remember cursive, for the record. They have not changed anything on the store. Okay. Gotta save money for the streamathon. That's right, folks. Streamathon is on Saturday this week, and it's gonna be a good time. We're doing if you're in GII, please come out with us. Join us. If you're not in GII, you should join it and then come out with us on Saturday. We're gonna be doing a whole bunch of events and stuff all day. All day. We're gonna try and push. I'm gonna see if we can make it to 20 hours. We'll see if it actually extends that long, but that is my goal. Let's see how that goes. Gotta keep paying you to run those events right. I think it's backwards, but okay. I'll take it. You guys are the ones making them. All right. I think this has been a long enough introduction, right? We can start to get into the good stuff. Y'all been very patient with me. Thank you. Happy Monday to you. On a slight note of realism, it is kind of a rough time, and it's looking like the at least immediate future is gonna be also exceptionally rough. I want to make it a real goal, whatever happens going forward, for us to try and be a good positive force here, you know, a good time. We come in here, we talk about a game we love. Yeah, we talk a little about a game we love. We complain some, like we put in the critiques. I'm not saying no negativity, but overall, I'm hoping that we can foster really good positive vibes around here going forward, because people might need it. I know I will. All right, folks. I don't think there's been any news really coming out over the weekend per se, so we might just dip back to last week. Yeah, this is the last post they did. Checking out the dev tracker real quick though. I actually have not looked at that this morning. Rough is likely an understatement. Yeah. All right, let's see. Spaceships are still not airplanes. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Is this about control surfaces? Spaceships are not, let's see, spaceships in SC are not, this is from Narhelik on Spectrum. I have no idea what this post is, by the way. We're just jumping in. But I won't take too much of your time. Yo, Zerb! Subbed up at 47 months, bro. Holy crap. 47 months already, he says. Yeah, dude, already. But I mean, Zerb, your name is a staple around here. Joined us May 10th, 2021. Like a year into the streams. Thank you, my friend. And Maverick, thank you for the bits, getting that hype train started over on Twitch. So this thread says, yet only one ship I'm aware of, about SC flights landing vertically, has usable downward facing landing lights. Even the newest release ship, the Golem, does not have downward facing landing lights. Yeah, I can already say, yes, I agree with this. I don't understand how the ship devs do not seem to understand something as functional and fundamental as needing to be able to see where you are landing in a dark environment. To be quite honest, they're supposed to do like this 3D overlay, kind of like you would see in Elite Dangerous. Don't know how many of you were around for Star Citizen 2.6 landing, or Star Citizen 2.6 in general, but there used to be this feature that would pop up whenever you got near a hangar. The thing about this system was that it worked because the way Star Citizen was built, everything was bespoke. You know, they love that word. They just bespoke everything. But back before 3.0, everything was built for that one application. So we had so few landing pads that every landing pad was like tied into the UI system to the point where you would get a specific UI whenever you approached one with your landing gear down. Let me see if I can, should be somewhere. This video is horribly, there we go.
Launch complete.
So you can see here, you would have the landing pad. It would be marked in green. Your ship would be there. You'd have this little height indicator that would show you kind of how far away you were from the deck. Nice, real nice times. So they're working on that, and they're supposed to make that again. The reason they haven't is the same reason that most of the UI in the game is still pretty rough, because building blocks took them a while, and then after they got building blocks done, they've basically just been working on whatever UIs you might see in Squadron. That's why all the UIs in Squadron look great. Whoop. Right? Great. I know some people really don't like them, but the UI in Squadron, when we go and we look at the Squadron 42 gameplay, looks like a finished game. And that's where most of the time and effort went in. And that's why the first things we're seeing now in Star Citizen are the HUDs. Drake's HUD coming in, Aegis HUD, Anvil HUD, all those things. So we're going to get this at some point, but there is like the never-ending question of when. They answered, just having a bit of fun with this, but we have indeed passed on the suggestion. That's what we're here for after all. So he didn't actually say that they had another UI going on. Landing lights would be nice too. I mean, I think there are times when you're using lights and not necessarily using like a UI like that. Could we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? God dang it, Synthwave. Haley Williams working at CIG. It doesn't look like there's anything else that's really gone on since the last time we checked. Looks like we are going to have an FPS Q&A. That would be nice. So there was medium helmet still can't be stored via keybind. FPS Q&A. Yeah, don't know when that would be, but I guess maybe they'll bring on the FPS team soon. All right, that's about it with news. Let's talk ships. I have a ship that I really enjoy. And I know I've already spoiled it, but I'm going to do my monologue, and I'm going to have fun with it. This ship, my friends, it's a workman's ship. It's a real ship, sweat off your brow kind of ship. The lifeblood of the verse, keeping everybody going where they need to go and making sure they can do it. This is a ship the Jedi wouldn't tell you about, if you asked. My friends, the Aegis Vulcan is a very ignored ship by CIG. And it pains me. It hurts me. CIG, why do you do this? Why did you show us this? And then take so long to make it. Now, Banu Merchantman fans, all right, I'm kidding. But this is like a small ship. This thing is 38.5 meters in length. It's not small. It's like medium, but it's not like a huge ship. 38 meters in length, 16 meters in width, 10 meters in height. This is like a Zeus, if you wanted to do something more useful with it. And the initial introduction of it reads that the Aegis Vulcan is a versatile support ship capable of refueling, repairing, and rearming other vessels. Love it. It is designed to provide support in scenarios including assisting friendly pilots pinned down by heavy fire and in need of ammunition, those low on quantum fuel after an ill-planned jump, and stranded in unknown space with the busted thruster. This is what everybody thought was going to be the Fire Ratch ship when it came out. And to be quite honest, I think a lot of people were hoping this would be out by Pyro since they wanted to have refueling in a good place, but since the Starfarer still can't do all of its refueling correctly, doesn't make sense for us to get this one, right? That being said, they introduced this back in 2018, I believe. 2018. And I'll tell you right now, the main reason it's being held back is the drones, which are a big part of this ship. It's something that we see in the Carrack, in the Reclaimer, in actually the next ship we're talking about today, the Pioneer. Just in general, drones are kind of a big part of the game, but they're holding back a lot of the game. And I'm going to give you a little look here in a second. John Crew actually shares some progress on drone development. Now, this is from 2022, but it does give us a little bit of an idea of why it might have taken so long and where drones might be. But before that, let's check out the Q&A and see what they say about the ship, because it's a pretty cool ship. What's up, Gumbo? Good to see you. All right. I'm not even going to look at the drone questions too much, because the amount of anything surrounding drones that has changed since this was announced, night and day. It's going to be so different than what they were probably thinking back then. We saw even over the course of a year, they were like, the idea behind drones changed enough in the course of a year that they tried to say that the Galaxy wasn't going to be a base builder anymore. Likely because of how drones would have complicated the design. So to look at that in just 2024 and then think, okay, this was unveiled almost, 7 years ago now. No, more than 7 years ago now. You gotta take it with a grain of salt. All right. So this is saying, how many 100% empty small and medium fuel tanks can a Vulcan fill? This is an important question, because this isn't about the ship itself. This is about how they're going to balance it. So whatever they say here, again, take it with a grain of salt, but this is probably going to point us towards what they want the Vulcan to at least be capable of doing in the game itself. So they say it's a difficult question to answer accurately because every ship in the game has a bespoke fuel tank. But you can remember that the role of the Vulcan isn't to completely fill tanks, although it can do that with repeat fills to provide enough fuel to get you to the proper fuel point. But to put a ballpark estimate, that will naturally adjust during development and testing. We would expect that the Vulcan would be able to fully fill 8 to 10 or so small tanks, 2 to 3 or so medium tanks, and half of a large tank. Filling a tank will require multiple trips with drones, however. So the Vulcan itself will carry a certain amount of fuel, and it would be enough to, say, fill up 8 to 10 Gladius tanks. So you could just be out, let's say you and several friends want to find the hardest of hardcore ship combat. And it just so happens that Not even Pyro. It's off in the Vega system. But because the Vega system is so war-torn from everything, there aren't space stations that offer reliable fuel for like 2 star systems outside of a military system, right? So maybe you get reputation high enough with the UEE that you can just stop off at that system at their civilian port or something and get fuel. But everybody else is kind of screwed. So as a group of fighters, let's say long-range fighters, because you're going out to these systems, you're in like vanguards, maybe there's like a guardian or something, but y'all need fuel. You could have a friend out there who could basically run you guys for hours on end, just chilling. And on top of that, I think this ship has actually some cargo space. Now, you might use that cargo space for the ammo and the fuel and stuff, but you could also maybe return some loot. 12 SU is not very much. But this is part of a fleet. And it's not even part of like your big 40, 50 person org kind of fleet. This is part of your 10 to 15 person group. It's still a hefty group of people, but this isn't something that requires a whole bunch of people to really benefit from. I also think, though, with the beacons, with the stuff they mentioned, going back to CitizenCon last year, and looking at just how much they have planned for people being able to bounce off each other. All this kind of stuff. Like this is, I guess this is more guides. There we go. Your rating, repair ratings, your refueling ratings. That's the Vulcan. And that's like the Vulcan is the workhorse in that area. You're not going to find a ship that I think is more qualified for this position because you need enough space to hold the cargo. You need enough space to hold the drones. You need enough space to hold the fuel. But you also don't want to be so big that you need an escort to feel safe. You know, you want a small ship that you feel like you can get around without attracting a lot of attention. And a Starford is a lot of attention. So I think that we're going to see a ton of this thing. It pains me that we still don't have the drones, making it a possibility. Own it, but they need to bring engineering and drones working before they can bring it in. Absolutely. It's just another one of those ships that's really held back by features. But that's why, like, when people are like, oh yeah, they need to release these JPEGs, these concepts. Yeah, I agree. We need to get this ship in. But if they released this ship before they got drones working, could you imagine how much of a mess it would be? Again, just pointing back at the galaxy. Will the drones be able to pick up materials from other places than the cribs on board the Vulcan? The drones do have basic arms and clamps to carry stuff, but the main purpose is to take them from the cribs on board the Vulcan. Can they carry stuff? Like, can I drone loot for me? There's nothing to stop them from taking it. There's nothing to stop them taking it from elsewhere, provided the drone can actually access those areas. Interesting. That's interesting. How are these drones different from the standalone repair bot we get with 3.3? Completely different, most likely much smaller. It is personal after all. Yeah, that's I think that's like a stretch goal or something. What is the largest ship a Vulcan would be able to fully refuel? They kind of already talked about that, but they're saying anything around a Retaliator or a Constellation. Again, that means if this ship comes in and it's not refueling a Retaliator or Constellation, then that's probably going to change. But this also means the second caveat, this was 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So their ideas of ship ranges might also change. What I'm trying to say is, like, this Q&A is giving us some idea of where they want to go, and I think you can expect it to go in that direction. But as far as specifics are, I still don't think this is going to have all of the news. And I wouldn't have said that a year ago, but I do genuinely think that the game, in terms of design, they're finding ways to change it to fit something that is a little bit more sellable, approachable, finishable. Pick one. Does the cargo bay function as an airlock? Can they drain fuel out of friendly ships? We discussed this in Reverse the Verse we did on the Vulcan, and again, this is not something we had in mind for the ship, but the systems should not prevent this, as it's essentially part of the salvaging gameplay loop. There is an important confirmation of something that doesn't get talked about enough. Pulling the oxygen, water, and fuel out of a ship is going to be part of salvage. Salvage is not always going to just be taking the hull and crunching the ship. You could literally run into a ship and strip it of its fuel just to get back home. I love that. I think that's so much. God. I don't want to ever be in that situation, but if I am, I'm glad that I can do that. Can a Vulcan itself refuel and buy fuel from a starfarer? Interesting word choice by stating these drones have tug functions. What will they use this for? Tug in the context of the brochure was marketing, making the word carry sound more interesting. Okay. How much space does ammo take up? 12 SU doesn't seem like much for rearming. That depends on what ammo you're bringing. The current volume of the cargo grid has a volume of over 20 cubic meters of space to fill with ammo, ship items, or cargo. The cargo room on the Vulcan is also quite spacious, and if during development we feel the need for greater capacity, then there is room to increase this. Another confirmation there for those who didn't know. I think they kind of went over this with the Perseus though, but ballistic ammo is going to take up space. So if you are a refueling and repair ship, you're getting yourself some premium by dedicating your space to ammo, whereas other people are going to be putting cargo on it. And that might make you more money when you're out in that war zone. Yeah, the ammo taking up space is going to be interesting. Did CIG not say that if you do not salvage the fuel first when you munch, it will blow up? I think they might have mentioned something like that. That would be pretty cool. Little hard space shipbreaker concepts in there. Death of a spaceman is one of the last things added before 1.0. Don't want it when bugs still exist, you know. I think it'll come in slowly. I think different aspects of Death of a Spaceman will start to make an appearance here and there. Are we getting refueling tanks and rearming boxes we could put on our cargo grid? I don't really know how they're going to handle this. I know that they want you to be able to transport fuel. They want you to be able to transport ammo. You're going to be able to be the industrial AAA truck going out and finding people who maybe mined for a little too long, maybe took a little bit of damage. And this all starts with the engineering that we're looking at. Like, it's easy to look at engineering and be like, oh, this is going to make it so much harder on my ship. I don't want to do this, which I still don't think that for small ships it's going to be that big a deal. But it also gives so much gameplay to people who want ships like this. Do I think that the TAC and Perseus release will come with the ability to reload ballistic weapons? That's an interesting one. I mean, we gotta get... Reloading ballistic weapons must be something in Squadron by now, right? If it's feature complete, it must be something in Squadron. Wonder how hard it would be to have working in Star Citizen. That might be something that just really got... I mean, it's going to be a painful experience to have ballistic reloads and ammo in some ships and then in other ships not. That's going to be worse than the difference in components right now. Perseus would need it for reasons. Like, so that it's not OP. Will the drones be able to work in a gravity well in atmosphere? Yes, they said. How will I know what needs to be repaired and where it is on the ship I am repairing? We'll be discussing this more in the lead up to repair and salvage gameplay being introduced into the game in a future patch. Little did they know, a future patch wouldn't be coming for 5 years. Can you give some details about how drones will be controlled by the operators? They say drones will be controlled from the support stations in the cockpit of the Vulcan. The players will sit down at the station and fly the drone from first-person perspective via the screen, so it'll be just like how we control tractor beams. They will function and fly to all intents and purposes like any other ship in the game. So drones aren't going to be autonomous. you have to control them. They're basically no interior spaceship, a really small non-interior spaceship. And like I said, John Crew is about to say some stuff about that here after we finish this. Will we need a good stockpile of ship components to be able to effectively repair all ships? Another topic we discussed, but only if you want to be able to repair all ships. The Vulcan can be played however you want to play it, be it lurking near a shop to stock up on the exact items needed by customers, or filled with generic items, allowing a potentially faster response to people in need. Wait a second, that's not really something I thought about before. You don't necessarily have to be available to repair. It depends on how long somebody's willing to wait. If somebody says, I need this specific component, your ship could do it, but that only really matters if there's a specific way it needs to be installed. Otherwise, any ship could sit around and wait at a shop for a component to become available. Interesting. Ground vehicles also available to be serviced by this ship. All right, so here's what I had found. Again, I think this is the last time any developer has talked about drone development in any sort of depth or given us an idea of like where their progress is or where they were headed. Let you guys listen in on this for a little bit.
Okay, sorry. My Outlook thing popped up right over your face for a second. Let's see what else we got from the chat here. Has there been any more progress on drones for the ships that use them? Carrack, Reclaimer, Vulcan, I think Apollo? Apollo had some, maybe?
Yes, sort of, for the Apollo. Short answer, no. There's nothing to specifically talk about. Slightly longer answer is there are multiple scenarios in like Squadron, mostly in like the side missions that make use of them. So they are on the vehicle feature team schedule in the near future to essentially do like a lightweight ship IFCS that is remote controlled, that will be the foundational aspect of drones in the PU.
So, as always, it's working in Squadron, not in the PU.
Tom the dog says, Jared Huckabee, are you happy in the UK? I am thrilled. I am happier and healthier than I...
Yeah, this was right when he moved. He moved, yeah, actually, I think he moved a year before this. Genuinely, I think it looked like it was... I don't want to say like a bad move. It seemed like it was a lot on him though, and I think maybe that's why people are asking.
Been in years. This was a long time coming. Just had to get around to doing it, and come next quarter, you're gonna see the next big chapter of me in the UK.
So
if you don't get run down by cars
if
again.
I don't get run down by a car.
All right, so that's basically what we know. They were getting it working for Squadron. They want to get it working for Star Citizen as well. But really, I think until we see a specific mention of drones, this is also something that's a little bit weird, as people are asking in the chat. The monthly report is showing us work on the Apollo, but let's be honest, core gameplay isn't showing us anything on medical. Core gameplay is also not showing us anything on drones. So even though these ships are getting worked on, and I'm excited for a ship, the Vulcan is not getting worked on, by the way. Just want to make that very clear. I'm just covering this because I love this ship. There was no recent news drop about this or anything, just summarizing the things that I know. But because like none of these ships really, I don't expect them to come out unless there's gameplay being worked on alongside them. And they're working on the Apollo, but if they release this thing without drones or without any extended medical gameplay, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Don't do that. So we'll see what happens. No jalopy. All right, let me give you guys a look at what the actual introduction of the ship is. I know I did all my talking, but here's the official part.
Chester Studio to bring Star Citizen's first multi-profession starter ship to life with the Aegis Vulcan.
See, he calls it a multi-profession starter ship, but I bet you they'll sneak something in that can undercut this. I mean, it's at $200. They ought to get something in at like $100 maximum that can do repair stuff. That can at least support repair gameplay. It doesn't have to come with drones. Just got to give them something to do.
So the Aegis Vulcan is a sort of starting ship for a bunch of professions that we already have in game, but we only sort of have the end game ships for people to use. So if you're interested in refueling or repairing, you've got the Starfarer and the Crucible. So those are pretty big ships to sort of jump in at if you want to go, oh, today I want to do some repairing of ships. You're looking at these huge ships that have substantial crew requirements and time requirements to get. If you jump in at those and find, well, actually I don't like this, then it's a huge time investment waste on that. So the Vulcan is sort of the jack of all trades starter ship.
What was the thing we always used to say? Punches above its weight class.
Professions, it does repairing, it does refueling, and it does rearming, which is something we don't have in any ship currently. It's a versatile support ship. It's there to support.
How many other ships do we have rearming? Now that he mentions that, I don't even know if there are any other ships anywhere near this size besides, because it's just the Crucible, right? Is there anything else focused on this? Man, there's no way they're not going to introduce a new ship when they introduce engineering. They're definitely going to introduce a ship that's meant to focus on repair and component recovery when they do engineering. Hell, maybe that's when they introduce drones. Who knows?
Support of the ships. It's not great at combat. It's not great at transport. It's not great at racing.
Not great at combat, huh?
Helping out with other ships. So if you're that sort of person that is interested
if we could find a
not the more active combat side, but
concept image of it
others,
in battle,
this is a really great entry into that, because it does allow you to help out massively for ships that have run out of fuel, ships that have minor damage, ships that have run out of ammo and are
in battle but not shooting,
stuck out in deep space, and they can call for your help, and you can go out there and give them just enough.
Hey, Execute, what's up, man? How you doing? Profession starter they were. Now they're a lot smarter, like the Golem. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they thought that their profession starters had to have interiors back then, but now they can go and do a whole bunch of different stuff with them.
To get them to where they need to go to. It's sort of like the space AA or AAA for America. You call them up, they give you just enough to get to where you're going, and then you can do your full repairs, rearm, refuel there. So the mechanic for doing the repairing, refueling, rearming is via its drones. So it has 4 drones that are sort of contained within the body of the ship, and then it can launch them out. These drones can do.
Yeah, actually, with this small of a size for a ship like this, they're gonna have to make refueling fairly profitable, which means you're probably gonna need to be in places where fuel is less common. So you're running a long-range ship in this, some long-range missions. The whole balance of fuel scarcity in this game is very pertinent question, I guess, especially because we just don't even know the distances that they're going to start shrinking systems to. Like Pyro, they made pretty small compared to what it was supposed to be. What are they going to do with Ellis? Ellis is like 98 AU or something like that. Yeah, these are manually controlled drones. They say we make our own prices, but the prices would still have to depend on whatever the nearest source of fuel is, right? if they make the nearest sources of fuel have fuel that is so cheap that you need to pump 42 SUs of fuel just to make a profit, nobody's going to use the Vulcan in that area, kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance that.
All 3 actions, but they can only do 1 at a time before they have to go back to the mothership to.
This is really all we've ever seen when it comes to drones and how they would act and
once
launch.
You've got 4 and they can do everything, they can't do it all together, so you can't have 4 out fixing everything at a time. There are only 2 stations to control the drones, so again, it sort of keeps tabs on what it can do. It's a 3-person ship, so you've got 1 person flying and 2 support stations, which would be either controlling the turrets or controlling the drones. So naturally, if you're in a sort of hostile environment, you may not want to have everybody controlling the drones and leaving yourself defenseless. So you sort of got to trade off your defensive capabilities with your support capabilities.
Just fight with the drones.
So we see probably 2 drones at a time going out at any one time, doing 1 or 2 of those 3 features. And the extra 2 are just there for if you want to quickly change what you're doing. They're all stocked in the ship, ready to go. You can send them out. Naturally, the drones will either stay where you've left them or continue on an AI behavior. Or if you're out for an extended duration of time, you're probably going to start losing these drones. They might get damaged. You might be careless flying them around. If you're trying to repair a ship, you might
God, they're probably
bang
so
into it and
expensive
destroy
to
the drone.
replace.
So we felt that if you only had 2 and you can only use 2 at a time, and 1 gets destroyed, that's quite a harsh penalty. You sort of lost 50% of your ability to do anything off the bat. So we've got those extra 2 as sort of redundancies and allows you to just stay out that bit longer.
I see. See, I always think of it as having 4 drones, but it's really just 2 with backups. There are 2 control stations. So yes, a player will control the drones at almost all times.
There's crew quarters in there, so it's not a I've got a mission to go do this item, I've got to go there, come back, because I can't survive out in space. You've got your crew beds, you've got basic living quarters, basic accommodation. So we see people spending significant amounts of time out on these missions, using up their drones, using up their supplies. There's a very small cargo hold to keep supplies in there, which sort of feeds into.
Alan, thank you for the super chat, man. Do you think they will ever do things like probe droids in Star Wars to check for things like bounties? It'd be cool to have local missions to control. Deep space probing is a thing. It's what ships like the Carrack's going to do. I don't know exactly how that is going to work, though. If you look up deep space probing Star Citizen, I think I have a video about it that pops up. That gives an idea of what they have planned. But I don't know how that design has changed over the years. I think it'll be a thing, though. Maybe not to scan to find bounties, but to do exploration gameplay. Thanks for the super chat, mate, and the good question.
The drones, if you're carting ammo around, you're not physically carrying ammo boxes to it. They go into the drones do it. There's an extended fuel tank under the body of the ship, which is where the fuel that you're piping to these ships come from, and then the drones themselves do the repair, much like we have in the PU at the moment with the little drones on the cryastro stations where you land, they come out and repair you. It's very similar to that.
So there's a small crew on this ship, 3 people, pilot, and then 2 support staff basically, and they can basically either control the guns or the drones basically. So. I guess, I don't know if you'll have to fight it out over who does what, or if they can, both, I guess, you've got 2 drones on either side of the ship, so I guess possibly one guy could do 2 on one side, 2 on another, and send them off, do their thing. So the ship is, the way it works is...
You guys are noticing how much different Around the Verse used to be from Inside Star Citizen? It's just like... They were long, so they were really fun to watch, but the information density was so much lower.
Entry is from the rear of the ship, so you've got a big tailgate that sort of opens up, and that gives you access to the cargo area. And I think it's 12 SCUs that it can hold, and then there's a small elevator that takes you up. It's almost like a mezzanine, and then it takes you to the living quarters. Some basic habitation at the rear of the craft. So a couple of beds, you know, the obligatory toilet and shower.
An obligatory toilet.
Food
I hope it's
station,
obligatory.
you know, a little table. You know, it's very much. It's in the, you know, it's that same sort of style as. It's basically the industrial Aegis, essentially. And so that feeds through the whole of the ship.
Interesting, they didn't make it look like a
We've taken a
reclaimer.
lot of what the art team have done when they've been making the reclaimer and sort of pulled that in and used that and used it as sort of not a template, but just helped define the style of the interior.
Okay.
There's 3 liveries basically that we've done for the ship. One's more military based. That's one we sort of focused on initially, just to get the ship through the pipeline. And then after that, it was then we had a little, you know, we had more time to then sort of focus on.
Every time they have these R numbers on the side, shout out to my HVAC people in chat, I keep thinking it's refrigerant. Like this ship runs on R17. You got, I don't know, something else recently was running on R22. Just archaic standards. This ship is called the Aegis Vulcan.
The alternatives. You know, sometimes the ships sort of fight you back. And you have to, you know, sometimes you just have to, you know, you're like up to 80 iterations before you hit on the shape, before you go to 3D. That does sound a lot, and sometimes that's just the way it is. So on this one, it was a pretty strong start, and like I said, it is the sort of stylistically the baby reclaimer. And just by its very nature of what it does, the functionality that needs to be in the ship, I won't say it designs itself, but you know, it's close to it. You know, there's a logical route that you want to take.
I wish that translated into its production.
Even still, even though, you know, it's a relatively small ship, there's still a lot of interest in the spaces. But yeah, I like it. I think it's got a good feel. So I'm looking forward to when this one gets built.
This gives you that taste of those careers and see whether you actually enjoy doing it, whether you feel it's got a sort of an in-game money-making opportunity enough that you want to do it full-term or full-time as a procession. It's not for everyone, but lots of people just love that support gameplay, and this is really a ship for that.
Refueling, repairing, and rearming. And with a collection of skins to do so in style, the Aegis Vulcan is our...
Is it?
Now,
Do they have it
farther
on the-
along than the Vulcan, we have
Oh,
a
okay, I thought they were going to say it was somewhere in development.
could be Star Citizen's most versatile starter ship yet. And, well, I mean, I can tell you I'm going to be picking up mine to be certain. Now, if only Vulcan owners could have a special salute to greet others with. This'll work. Now, farther along than the Vulcan,
All right.
we have a number of ships working
So
their way...
there are plenty of other ships going into the works back then. You can see the Caracas here. Constellation rework was up here. Is the Banu Merchantman. Oh, good joy. And I think that might be the Pioneer down there. That's the next ship we're going to talk about. But that's the Aegis Vulcan. Arguably one of my favorite ships in this game, and something that I'm really, really interested to see what happens when it comes into the game. But we don't really have much else to go off of other than those things. I don't think there's been any updates recently on this ship in particular. Just what we looked at with drones. And there you go. Forgot I even had music. What Star Citizen video is this from? Is it a concept team video? That was around the verse back in 2018. Video is 2018, 7 years old. Yeah, no updates either on the drones. That's the most painful part, is that this was 2 years ago, and this is really the most recent update I think we've gotten. Next up, though, my friends, is the Pioneer. We talk about the Pioneer, little chats about that, and then I think we will be getting to the financials. title's supposed to be 2024 financials. No, the financials come out 1 year after the year. So we won't be seeing the 2024 financials until the end of 2025. This Week in Star Citizen now. What? No way. Wait. You're telling me CIG actually released? Whoa, dude, this is what? Look at the time. CIG, good job. That's punctual. Let's see what's going on in Star Citizen this week. Last week we kicked off Triggerfish, and we hope you had as much fun experiencing it as we did. It introduced a brand new time-limited Arena Commander free flight map, Easy Hab. Yeah, it was cool to see. Also recognized most active contributors for 4.0 PTU. We saw that. They released the monthly report. We went over that. Now we're covering the ship news on that right now. Now let's see what's going on this week. Wednesday brings with us a roadmap update and roadmap roundup. I'm betting... Nah, we probably won't see too much change here. We know that there is still some stuff that needs to be brought into the 4.1 patch cycle. Always keep in mind, even though you're seeing something on the patch cycle, what's a roadmap? That in the column for the patch cycle, that doesn't mean it's coming in that first update. So if you go back to 4.1, space combat missions are still tentative. These are coming later, as is the second Vault weapon. The Parallax, or not the Parallax, the Quartz SMG, which is pretty cool sounding. So those are probably coming in 4.1.1 or 4.1.2 alongside whatever may or may not show up in this roadmap roundup, but I doubt they're really going to change much. It'll probably just be progress tracker stuff. No Star Citizen Live this week, but we'll be back with a new show next week. On Friday, keep an eye on your inbox for the RSI Weekly newsletter, featuring the week's highlights, standout community content, and a sneak peek of what's ahead. Then on Saturday, System 7 Race 3. That's running from the Atmo team. Thank you, Niku, for delivering the news. It's going to be a quiet week, but you know us. We're the Garden Toes Gang. We know how to keep things loud. So we'll be talking through the whole week about updates, development, news that's going on. And then we'll probably hear more about this. Maybe, I don't think we'll hear about it until Thursday. Or I'm sorry, until next week on Monday. The coverage is the real thing that's like lacking this year. ISC being gone is rough. Just in general, it's just it's like the opposite of the pre 3.0 drought, when they had so much that they were just giving us so much news all the time. Now it's like, hey, we're just caring about what's going on right now. So we're just telling you about that stuff, which, considering the way that they're developing the game this year, isn't as much. Although I do think that they've got some big upgrades coming in terms of the gameplay. I'm putting out a video about that, I think, tomorrow. It's going over the core gameplay update from the monthly report. It's a little bit later than I wanted, but I think it's some good signs that, in general, ship gameplay and the way that the game is played, it's coming to a head. It's just a matter of when they can actually work on it. When is it coming to the EPTU? When are you actually showing us? Anyways, back to the Pioneer, my friends. That was This Week in Star Citizen. You were in your 30s when you started supporting this game. Now you're in your 50s. What? Oh, like, okay, I see. Late 30s, early 50s. Music's a bit loud. Thank you for the heads up. Anyone got ideas for big reveals at CitizenCon this year? I think they're going to have some pretty realistic examples of the Maelstrom system, of base building, of the flight model. I think really we're on like just this arc of features that they started showing us in 2023, and then we were like, okay, they're ready by 2024. Oh no, okay, well, they'll be ready by 2024. No, okay, they'll show them. They'll be at CitizenCon. All right, 2026, folks. That's it. That's when it's coming. That's it. Of course. You're gonna be 70 this summer. Nonsense, man. They told us on Reddit. It's all young dads. Space dads, they called them. Thought the place was ISC and SEL every other week. This cadence really sucks. Are they not even doing every other week? They're skipping more weeks? Thank you. Thank you very much. They've missed 2 weeks already. Yeah, I guess last week we didn't even have anything. Let me check out their channel. Let's see. Yeah, so... Oh yeah, they didn't even release a video last week. Wow. Inside Star Citizen was just basically an announcement for 4.1 here. And that was March 27th. So that is 2 weeks ago. Before that, we got behind the scenes with the Golem, so that doesn't count. Before that, behind the scenes with the Atlas. Before that was the performance capture. Before that was the vehicle concept team. Before that, supplier die trailer. Before that, a look at that event. Before that, content driven, which was, I think, a look at just kind of the current events going on. Yeah, they were just explaining the current events. Before that was advertisement for a new ship. Before that was his big talk about server meshing. You know, I don't think we've gotten a single look at feature stuff on video this year. I didn't even freaking notice that. Holy crap. Wait, this is wild. Basically, all we've gotten in terms of video content from Star Citizen this year, which is starting from right here, I want to say. I think this is the first thing this year. Ship advertisement with behind the scenes. Ship advertisement. Trailer for content. Ship advertisement. A talk about the back end. This was a good long talk about the back end, which was helpful, but back end. That back end though.
This isn't just...
Damn it. Wrong soundbite. Advertisement for Ship, Anvil Super Hornet. Trailer for Ship, Anvil Super Hornet. Talking about the events going on. Thank you. Content video. Another content video talking about Supplier Die. Trailer for Supplier Die. Vehicle concept team, so Ship Talk. Performance capture, which like gave us a little bit of a look at something coming up. Atlas Geo advertisement. Drake Golem advertisement. 4.1 launch deep dive, so basically looking at the content. Golem trailer, and then 4.1 trailer. That's what we've gotten this year. Let's look at what we got this time, even just last year. We were looking at EVA changes coming up. The branding, honestly, the branding one is actually pretty interesting around the distribution centers. Those hadn't come out yet. Those are coming out in the next patch. Master modes. They did Q&As on the distribution centers and also the personal inventory and interaction system. First person introductions. Like this was because what was it, 323 was going to have a lot of stuff in it, and they were very hyped in Q1 of last year. But you can go back further than that. I mean, 2023 is almost a completely different reality in terms of ISC. You guys remember when we were getting regular sprint reports? I think, yeah, this is the very last sprint report we ever saw.
The RSI Apollo Medevac, which is currently in production.
Remember when we used to see these where you would just
the
just get kind of information about what's going on at that time? CJ, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Astropub mentioned the Zeus Mark II status. I looked online but can't find much about it. Have you heard anything? There's nothing really to talk about there. There's only one picture of it. And it is just from their original reveal of all of the ships. This one right here. This is the only thing I think we've ever seen of the status. The Zeus ST. With a turret on the top and the bottom, it does seem like it would be like it's almost like an M from the Crusader line of ships, something that's a little more focused on military. But we've also heard that this might be a passenger transport ship, so we'll have to see. Don't know anything about it or when it's coming, but it does exist. Yeah, that stuff was too far out, but still pending release. I know, and that's the thing, is like, we've gone through so many iterations of ISC. I genuinely think this is still the best way to do it. You should still show stuff that is far and close, not just stuff that's like happening that day. Whoa, Cubant. Thank you for the memberships over on YouTube, my friend. That's a Toes Gang kind of membership right there. That's a statement. I wish YouTube would have hype trains, because you guys are hype. Cupid, appreciate you this lovely Monday. You going in right next to PK, who is a well-known Toes Gang activist. Again, I would put you on the chest, but I have to take my shirt off. You know how that is. Anna McCrae, what's up? Welcome in. Do you think they are going to increase the Vulcan size? I mean, is it a cop-out to say yes? Star Citizen's always increasing the size of stuff, and to be quite honest, they made the Vulcan in 2018. They only just figured out what drones are going to look like in the game now. That ship's getting bigger, for sure. I bet it's like 45 meters now. And, you know, just going back to more of this, like, it's just the way that this program has changed is a lot. And we were just looking at Around the Verse, going all the way back to there. It was 40-minute episodes. That was because they couldn't put stuff in the game, right? Everything they wanted to put in the game was stuck behind 3.0. They couldn't get 3.0 out, so they showed it to us all in Around the Verse. 30 minutes every week. Here's what we're working on. Sorry, you can't play it. Now instead, most of the stuff that they are actively trying to show off to us is stuff that they're putting in the game. Everything else is probably squadron focused. So it's the way that this kind of thing runs is super indicative of their development at the time. And right now, they are not focused on selling us on features or telling us what's coming up. They did that. They did that during IAE, and they'll probably do it again during Invictus. But a lot of this, the content, the playability, and the stability, that's all we see here. Content and ships and events, stability from the back-end talks, and more honestly of their Spectrum posts, and the playability, just an overall encompassment of that. And I think that's going to continue throughout the year. I think we'll definitely see more feature stuff than we saw in Q1, but it was a good point looking at just how dry it's been in terms of that kind of content. And y'all know me, that's the content I love. Oh well. Hey DX, how you doing? We need sprint reports back. We need sprint reports back. Please, CIG. Please. Please. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Sorry, it's Bob's Burgers. What's the ship is going on? Anvil Hawk Mark II. Anvil Hawk Mark II. We don't even have the first Anvil Hawk working how it's supposed to. Give him a moment. Question, how is my singing? Gumbo, you make that happen.
I'ma sing the whole time like this. You best believe that.
Don't do it. Freaking do it. Toma Arashi. Wait, whoa, AAK. Whoa, wait, what? What happened on Twitch? How did I miss? Gumbo, you... God! Why is that still an option? Why does this stupid stream have a stupid sing mode? Ugh. All right, everybody, you can thank Gumbo for the next 5 minutes of suffering and not getting Star Citizen news. I'm gonna write the good people Toma Arashi here, supporting the Toes gang. Thank you, my friend. And AAK, my man. I hope you're doing well, dude. AAK is always keeping the world safer. Good man. Helping us out. Guys, I'm out of freaking board space over here. Look at this. What is this?
What am I supposed to do with this?
That was in queue, right? That was good.
Alright. Let's read about the pioneer. Alright. We're gonna talk about the pioneer. Everybody say thank you, Gumbo. You got Tomato doing weird things, but it don't matter, 'cause we're gonna talk about the pioneer. Yeah!
All right, that's my singing for you. That's my sing mode. I'm not gonna subject you to any more. Thank you, Gumbo. I appreciate you. Hey, by the way, I saw your post about Hathor on the subreddit. Appreciate you. Okay, fine. You've been saving up. That's fine.
I'll talk to you about your post on Hathor. Yeah, Hathor's such a good time, as long as you're okay with getting shot. Yeah, Hathor's such a good time. What the f*** am I doing?
Okay, let's get back to the Pioneer. The Pioneer, my friends, this ship is, I honestly, possibly one of the most OP ships in the game. This might be the most OP ships in the game. It is. Hey, Mrs. Tomato.
Everything okay?
No, sing mode is still an option on the stream.
Well, like, sing mode is still an option?
Yeah.
Somebody spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So we can go ahead and remove that now.
No.
Because I think I've been singing. See, look, Kevin P in the chat saying, "What the f, dude?"
That's his real voice, you guys.
Kevin P.
That's what he really sounds like.
Well, now I don't have the filter on now.
That's what.
This is what it really sounds like. Before, oh, this is the filter.
This is the filter. You turn off the filter to sound squeaky.
Real sorry, you're gonna have to edit this out, buddy. Nobody said shoot at me.
That was from me.
People just asking me to sing. Hello, what's going on? Folks, I'm sorry. People just coming in here trying to get their daily news, you know, just trying to relax, kick back, have a good time. Wait, what post? Oh, I thought you posted. Never mind. I'm just crazy. Can we get a Mrs. Tomato song? No, I actually think that we should probably have a sing mode for Mrs. Tomato. What do you guys think of that? Is my audio not quite in sync with my video? That might be a problem. If the audio is off, sorry. That's actually kind of important. Let me know if that's true across the board. Yeah, it is off for you. It's okay for you. Why is the Pioneer OP? I will tell you in a moment. Let me just make sure the audio is working. For you, it's okay. YouTube seems to be in sync. Okay. All right, cool. As long as it's in sync for a majority of people. It's the best I could do, unfortunately. All right, let's talk about the Pioneer. So this ship is one of two ships from Consolidated Outland so far. Funny, because Consolidated Outland is one of the youngest companies in the game. They are... Actually, let me give you a really good example of how young this company is without saying a word. So you know how like Chris Roberts... I said I wasn't going to say a word. Here is the company's founder. Let's just say that. This is the company's founder living 7 years ago in the lore.
Irregular people were able to explore our solar system, allowing an unprecedented amount of knowledge to be discovered. When Nick Croshaw discovered the first jump point, the modified scanner array that allowed him to search for jump points were far too expensive for the civilian market. But once that technology was refined and open to the public, what happened? That's right, an era of expansion that led us from this to this. And that's how it's always been. If you look at all the great eras of human history, whenever innovation has put technology in the hands of the people, it has heralded sweeping discoveries. Because power in the hands of many will always exceed the power of few. So while we can now discover new jump points and systems, there's still one hurdle that remains. That's what to do once you discover a new planet. Because right now, only the largest corporations can terraform and establish settlements. Easy. We haven't simplified terraforming yet. No, I'm here to announce something equally exciting. Albert Einstein, the man who redefined human understanding of the universe, he once said, "The person who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The person who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever seen before."
The longest unveiling of a ship.
Sentiment meant to inspire thinkers and creators to push the boundaries of their understanding. It was, after all, said 1,000 years ago, before humanity had left our homeworld. So clearly he was speaking metaphorically. Today, as I just showed you, the unknown is out there, waiting to be discovered. For those that are looking for those places that no one has seen before, they are faced with a daunting challenge. What do you do when you get there? Up until now, it's been the province of governments and corporations to pave the way for sustained habitation. The power has been in the hands of the few. What if I offered you the ability to build your own settlement? To bring
just give us the ship, man.
Untamed frontiers.
Oh my God.
A colony ship in the truest sense of the word. And I'm not talking about just transporting people, no. I'm talking about an all-in-one solution designed to build modular structures based on your needs. Capable of building a farm or a habitat, a trading post or a mining operation. I mean, that'd be crazy, right? Allow me to introduce the Pioneer.
All right. Oh, sorry, he has
With
more.
that, let the new age of colonization begin.
So this, dude, I wonder if they just like didn't even have landing gear modeled, and that's why they don't have it land in this video, because it just kind of hovers there the whole time. Why would a ship like that just have? Anyways, that was the unveiling of the Pioneer, which is, I think, still a funny video. This guy is actually supposed to be, they like kind of started out with him as this sort of Steve Jobs-like kind of figure, but ultimately I think they were going for just like generic tech person. They also made references to him that looked like Elon Musk, and the whole idea is that this guy is like just a very, very successful entrepreneur who was originally building parts and things for other ship companies, but then started his own company. But they started the company like, I don't know, 30 years maybe prior to Star Citizen being a thing. And in those 30 years, they have created the CNOU Nomad, obviously the ship that we speculated on the podcast a little while ago with Tristan, and this thing, as well as the Mustang, but we don't really talk about that. So it's a little strange that like they managed to do that much in that amount of time, and they'll for sure have more ships going forward. But you know, we'll just kind of we don't. That just happens, right? It just happens. I think, yeah, Drake is kind of like that. I think Drake came into power in 2080, in 2840s. So Drake's like 110 years old. I don't know why their founder would still be walking around. More like Peter Waytani. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of a Waytani vibe to him. Good call. You were there at 2017. You were at the live show. Well, yeah, after they unveiled this, they talked quite a bit about the whole point of it and what it is.
And with this ship, it is built to go and settle unknown lands.
That basically sums it up. This thing was their frontier sort of thing, and they had some cool concepts around it.
If we give him one, he's never happy. He wants to see 3.
They say that the way that these ships are supposed to be, CNOU ships are supposed to be like space stations with thrusters on them. And I think the Pioneer, clearly the concepts that they worked on with it catch that vibe. I'm really wondering what it's going to look like when they do like a 40 to 60 meter ship from this company.
For the more he can see, the more options, the better. Which is great. We're totally used to it. We know how to work fast. That's you don't really sort of set your heart on anything, but you keep pushing.
Exodus Kane, and thank you so much for the Prime sub. Maverick with the bits. Appreciate you. Oh, we're on a hype train.
Ship can look good.
Thank you, guys.
Also, not be a flying brick. So basically, there's a lot of transformation. We still have technical issues. Well, not technical issues. Technical requirements that we need to take into account with this. But at this stage, we hand this off to Chris, and he's able to then give us feedback. He's able to pick from A, pick from B, say, I like the color from J, and then basically we go on to the next round of feedback. So this is where we start sort of dialing in. We've taken what Chris likes. And again, it's just super loose, super rough. We are dealing with mesh work that we're just sort of crashing together. We're not being all precious about this stuff. So we're basically just going for an aesthetic with a hint of the functionality. That's already sort of been factored in with talks with design. And what you'll see here is like in a sort of really, we've got the next few slides are very sort of behind the scenes. They're sort of the stuff that goes on at people's desks, and people are drawing on the animation and the manufacturing process.
So this is the major change that this ship saw. As we're going to get into the reintroduction of this ship at last year's CitizenCon, you'll see one of the biggest design changes they made is they've changed the idea that this ship itself was a factory. The ship itself is now going to carry drones. Back now, the idea was, oh, the ship's going to land and it's going to pop out modular prefabbed kits right there on the spot. And I always was wondering to myself, does that mean you're just going to have to lift the ship up and land everywhere you want to plant down a building? Or is it going to build the building and then you're going to somehow move it somewhere? To me, it makes more sense to have drones pop out, and I'm guessing that's why they changed the whole design around it. I'm not sure how they landed on this as how base building was going to work overall. My biggest hope was that maybe like this ship would do some big structures like that, And then there were other ships that would be more maneuverable around your workspace and be able to get smaller buildings and stuff into different areas. I don't know. I never fully understood how this was going to work, but it certainly looked cool, which was a lot of the 2010s for Star Citizen.
And again, these are really apologies for the sort of small resolution, but here you can it gives you an indication of the block out process in terms of the animation and the manufacturing process. So this is not a 3D printer, it is a manufacturing plant. So you're essentially, you'll be taking your panels, materials, almost like IKEA, dare we say?
I would say more like a car manufacturer or something
right,
like that.
So more like Tesla, let's say. Yeah. I prefer Tesla, and it definitely suits more with the sort of the video you guys have just seen. And so you can see the sort of amount of detail that the concept artist is putting in for the manufacturing plant. And basically you've got two arms, and that's basically where everything gets built, and then in the center it all gets assembled. There's a little bit of magic that goes on in there, and then basically the crane comes in and takes your pods. So this is I guess, final concept model.
Just
so
hear somebody having
right
like a phone
in
conversation in the background. Here they describe it, and just the construction of how this was supposed to work. No? You can't watch it anymore? Okay, I guess it's just over. See you guys later. YouTube. All right, no more 1080p for me. No, we're on auto. What is going on?
You've got an arm that's articulating out. There is a turret on this arm, and it's also sort of providing an extra sense of perimeter to your base. The area in blue is...
You know, y'all keep saying it's a 3D printer, but you're disagreeing with Paul Jones. He was very adamant that it's not a 3D printer, it's a manufacturing plant. But I hear you.
The crane, and once everything has been assembled, this crane comes in, takes the habitation pods out of there, moves it to the front of the ship, so that then there's still space for additional pods, and depending on how you've configured it.
Honestly, I get why it would be weird to have drones, but I think it would either have to be drones or ships and vehicles. I don't think FPS-based construction is going to really work well in this game. Maybe for small things, but the scales are so large. Drones kind of make sense because then you don't have to move everything around as much. I do agree, though. It's an easy way to do it. It's not like the most thought out and creative way of having it happen.
And again, this is kind of just sort of showing you the process of where the cargo is inserted, and it basically runs down both arms, ultimately meets in the middle. And you know, as a player, you'll be able to see a ton of this going on. You'll have all the equipment. You'll have all the robot arms. It'll you know, as you're playing it or as you're walking around your base, you should really get a good feel of what's going on.
Jumping forward a little more, just to get ideas of scale and stuff. They actually talk a little about exploration gameplay here. We'll touch on.
Just a quick slide put together, just to give you an indication of comparative sizes. Again, you've got a little Mustang in there, which will fit on the landing pad. And finishing up, this is sort of final rendering of just showing the ship in its full glory. And it's still, you know, even though it is utilitarian and sort of quite big and massive, you know, monolithic, again, with this sort of graphical branding, it's kind of still giving it, we've broken up the shapes, we've given it a really sort of futuristic feel, and I'm pretty happy with it, yeah.
So from here, they go on to actually talk a little bit about how exploration gameplay. This is the part of the conversation I actually like. Now, it's a lot of Tony Z. You know how that goes. But some good insight into exploration gameplay and how data will work and how like the active base building will work before you actually start building the base, which includes a lot of like how these ships
come in.
fit in.
You could take your Pioneer and do all this with your Pioneer, but it's probably not going to be the best ship for scouting locations. We've got a whole wealth of exploration ships that are designed for finding that information out. It's like you wouldn't take your oil rig out into the ocean and just randomly dot it down until you found what you wanted.
You're not my supervisor, John. Maybe I will.
Find the best locations. So the ships you mentioned there's just a small range of the exploration ships, like the 315P, Terrapin, Carrack. All exploration, all have slightly different pros and strengths. So you've got the single ones, you've got the big crews, and they're just there to help find where you want to send your Pioneer to. You might find a nice location, but if you went there in your Pioneer, you're never going to find out where the nearest refinery, like Tony talked about. You could build it and you find it's millions of miles away, and that's going to be a waste. So these exploration ships are really sort of key to finding those places.
And
different mining ideas. Storage. So one of the important things is basically if you're growing plants, or if you're basically dealing with any sort of bare form resources that will feed into our ecological system, then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're actually storing these items, and so that you're not just mining once and then basically having to shut down because you don't have any more space. Drug lab. So in case you want to...
Your prefab drug lab.
Do a little Breaking Bad. Then idea about research, and this would be maybe you're close to the sun or something like that, and you want to research some solar flares or those types of things. Med station. So
they probably shouldn't have even talked about this back then. They probably shouldn't have talked about base building at Star Citizen 2023. Weird to, I mean... just very much a hype builder. An opportunity to get people excited for something that will have really, really impactful and long-term effects. It's a little prematurely. So now we get to look at what the Pioneer became since then. Hey, Breezy, thanks for dropping by. Enjoy your time in game today. Token, thank you for the sub over on Twitch, by the way. All right, so here is the transformation of the Pioneer. We'll talk kind of about, well, they'll talk about why this happened.
What about bigger things? So, who can guess what that is? So, I talked to you all quite some time ago about this in Germany, and this is obviously the original concept for the Pioneer. Now, some time has passed, and whilst the core concepts of base building have remained the same at a high level, how you physically build your bases has changed slightly. So back then, you were building everything on board the ship here. You would fly your Pioneer. This is the area I want to build in. I'm going to build my base on board the ship, and I'm going to drop it down. As you've seen, bases are a lot more expansive now. This doesn't work anymore. So we need to do a little bit of some reconcepting.
Okay, so one of the first things we really wanted to kind of solve was the arm.
The arm.
We know a lot more about how we're going to be constructing these structures now, and kind of the arm didn't really make a lot of sense anymore. All it really did was it made the space you need to land the ship almost twice as big as what it's kind of needed. And we're not
we
real
like
spaceship
that.
engineers. We don't make real spaceships. But what we do try and do a lot of the time is we try and take as much reference from kind of real life manufacturing as we possibly can. And I think that's really it's really key to what I think Star Citizen is as a whole across like all the different departments. In that, we're trying to make a believable universe. And if you think about the ARM, and whilst I can't deny it's a cool idea, I think really from a manufacturing point of view, all it really does is it adds a lot of complication and a lot of manufacturing costs.
You would think they'd have maybe a couple observation decks on like the sides here so that you could watch what's being built. Might be a little hard to see it from the window out here.
What is already a very advanced, very large, very costly ship to make. So that was kind of like one of the kind of real first things we wanted to do. The second thing...
Now, I don't understand why this isn't the picture they opened with. If you're going to show this as the old Pioneer, why would you not open with that picture right after? Like, that's the same shot. This gives a much better ability to compare between the two and see that the ship is not really that much different. I think the main difference is they expanded that, and then obviously the inside, the middle doesn't open up anymore. I just don't understand why they switched to that other picture. That was a weird choice.
I can't deny it's a cool idea.
Original concept had no game logic. Ship and gameplay were purely conceptual with no real indication there was any game design around it. Small amount of game design. Definitely not. It's weird. It's specifically weird for the idea of needing to jump around in that ship. The bridge is new too? No, they had the bridge before. I think it wasn't as long. I think it was just that center section, just this, and then they extended out to the side now. And it's like less angular.
The second thing we wanted to look at was kind of have a little bit of a shift around of kind of like the egress points on the ship. The cargo position has moved, so we needed to kind of update that. We wanted to make sure that the landing pad made sense and had space to kind of come into the ship.
Oh, they added guns?
And then we also needed a way of getting things out of the ship that we will be crafting. On top of that, we had a few other goals. Like I say, needs to support all the updated...
All right, let's look at the layout of this.
So at the back of the ship, we have the classic bridge, looks out over the expanse of the ship.
See, that's the detail they didn't even have back when they were showing the original one.
And then top and bottom of that in this image, we have the escape pod rooms. And then leading off those is the access to the manned turrets that remain.
Okay, so that's the new bridge then. They don't even use the whole length. See, why not put a little window out here? One out here. Let us come and watch. I want some good views. Gonna be in here for a while if the drones are doing all the work.
Then going downstairs, we have the cargo area at the top. Doesn't look like a lot. That's 1,000 SEU of cargo now in that space.
Jesus.
Next to that is the fabrication control room. This is where you'll be fabricating larger vehicles and ships, as well as smaller fabrication machines next door for. You don't want to use this to build a small FPS weapon. It's a bit overkill. So we have that on board as well. In the center of the ship, we have a small fabrication hangar with roof and ramp egress. So if you're building a small ship on board, so things...
Somebody asked about that. You can build spaceships on it. Like, let's just real quick go through like the things on this ship. You can mine the ground for resources. You can build items for usage. You can build ships to move around. You can build a base for permanency. You have 1,000 SCU of cargo. You have a hangar bay where you can land ships and store vehicles. You have medical facilities to heal yourself and respawn. Turrets to defend yourself with. Am I missing anything? the heck else is like what is this ship missing? I guess it's just going to be a ridiculously valuable target. Like, you're going to really want to be able to defend something like this. This ship is a base. Why build a base outside of it? I want to move the ship somewhere else, you know?
It's like a Nomad you can build on board here. You'll be able to fly it out the roof of the fabrication hangar. And then we have the existing small landing pad that transitions from outside the ship to inside the ship. So cargo you can load via new entrance that Ben's going to talk about in a second, but you can still retain the ability to land a ship on top of this ship, move it inside your ship.
It ain't Drake now,
all
come
those
on.
Things. Engineering at the rear, this is now capital components all the way around. It was a weird mix of size 3s before, it's now just all capital everything. Then we have the habitation, mess hall, medical area between the hangar.
Yeah, you definitely need a lot of people. It's going to take a whole bunch of work and
extra large drones in the drone room. But we don't just have some pictures.
Man, how long
Ben's going to go through this in a bit more detail now.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to have a little look at kind of...
So this is what we have from CitizenCon. We're actually right after this going to go look at what they've updated with concept art-wise just a couple weeks ago.
Of like the concept and where it's at on the interior. We start out on the, you know...
All right, I'm going to see if we can do a little side-by-side here. Maybe we can track where they're going.
The interior bridge, it's very spacious, or command deck bridge, whatever you want to call it. It gives kind of really nice views out over the front of the ship.
So you're up here right now?
And right up front, you've got all the consoles required that you need to kind of control the ship.
Freaking amazing looking bridge. That's going to be so cool to be up there with some friends.
As well as the kind of additional remote turret access consoles. And then at the rear, we have the main kind of navigation components and some small engineering consoles. And kind of flanking either side, we've got these two corridors, and they lead out to the manned turrets that kind of sit above the bridge. And they also have all the escape pods needed for all the bridge crew. Like I say, we want this to kind of be a home away from home, so we have a very large, comfortable habitation area.
I have no idea where they are now.
Each of the crew members, they get their own individual crew pod.
I'm just saying they're still somewhere
and
around
one of the nice
here.
things about this is these actually open up, and they allow kind of each crew member to kind of decide like how much privacy they actually want. This is the crafting area. We've got the 4 kind of crafting machines.
So this is up front here?
And these are right next
or no, I'm sorry,
to
this is
the
right here.
cargo bay, the internal cargo bay. And as John says, this holds up to, you know,
So he just rounded this corner here, and they're about to start heading backwards in the ship. And we'll see this in a couple of minutes, what it looks like now updated.
1,000 SEU of cargo, so it's pretty sizable. To make it a little bit easier, it's got its own dedicated cargo lift at the back. But again, just kind of
This is actually where a big lift, a big change happened.
It's that kind of getting cargo in and out of the vehicle.
You mean once you kind of hear it?
Down at the front, we have the drone room. Now these will be 4 extra large drones, so they'll be able to craft our largest structures in game. They exit the ship out through the roof, and they're all controlled by the construction console in this area. And finally, we're just going to take a quick look at the crafting area on the ship. So you can see here we've got these blast shields down that kind of protect the crew in this area from what's going on
down here.
inside. And then as these open up, we just finished making a storm. And as you know, as we see, there's a ramp that leads out, so you can drive any ground vehicles straight out the front. You know, between all the landing gear, and you get this really nice kind of like sense of scale as you're driving underneath out the front of the ship. And we've also got the top exit for any flight vehicles.
And that's right
And
here.
then finally, we have the landing pad, and this just allows us for any ships that land up on deck, we can just bring them down into the belly of the ship.
So that's the walkthrough as of last November. We have actually gotten more recent footage, not of the ship itself, but of the concept work they've been doing on it. And you can see they shifted a little bit from those oranges to yellows. because they've been working on the Apollo and Pioneer, do we read that drone gameplay is progressing as well? I would not. I would only trust whatever shows up in that gameplay section of the monthly report. Since they haven't mentioned anything about drones, I would assume that they don't have anything ready to go with them yet. What even is the crafting? What do you mean? Like the act of it? Oh my god, imagine if they copy-pasted Elite Dangerous engineering into this game. I would die. God, I would hate that. Please leave Elite Dangerous as Elite Dangerous and leave Star Citizen as Star Citizen. Resource collecting to support this ship is going to be so much fun. Dude, it's going to be like a full-on week of just org co-op gameplay to keep this thing running. And at the end of it, you get a base out of it. What they need to figure out, what they need to make most important is making sure that people still have reasons to continue building bases in other places and just different things. Idiotic they have all this hypothetical stuff while the base loop isn't stable. I disagree. I think you should probably continue to figure out how your game is going to work, even if your game isn't currently playable. Otherwise, once your game is playable, you're then going to have to figure out how it works and just sit around. We'll get there. Drone gameplay got to be ready soon if the game is going to be done next year. It's not going to be done next year. Pioneer just takes a lot of effort since they don't really have a CNOU asset pack to work from either. I think that's why they're working on that smaller ship too from the company. That's probably helping them out a bit. Squadron Star Citizen definitely will not be done next year. Yeah, Star Citizen is not going to be anywhere near done next year. Or do what they're doing now and design the ship and gameplay in tandem. Yeah. Works out that way. I mean, and it explains why we didn't have the interior back with those original videos. Now, here's what they were saying about the Pioneer's interior 2 weeks ago.
Do you make that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When?
So what are we looking at here?
We're looking at the refinery of the Pioneer, and this was one of the room that recently changed a little bit. So the 3D artists wanted, okay, what should we do here? What color should we use? How should we approach the color palette? How should we approach the way the room is built? Ben was focusing a lot on the fact of how our ship this big is built. So there is a hierarchy between the structures that create these rooms. There are secondary beams, secondary bulkheads that are attached to the first ones, and the floor is attached over the structure, so there is space below the floor. How do you approach all these layering?
To rehide the dead bodies.
Compartmentalized with color palette the different functions of this area. For example, we have the crafting stations in yellow, we have the cargo area and the passage in blue, something a little more calm because there is not a lot of movement. And where there is a lot of movement, like the elevator, we use red. So try to be bold and catch attention towards.
Yeah, red is bold.
Indication.
Tomatoes, real bold.
Action. All stuff we're trying to.
Dude, look at all this space. It's like you're not even on a spaceship at that point. It feels like you're on a, well, okay, a space station, like they were saying.
Indication and direction. All stuff we're trying to implement in from feedback from the other capital ships we did.
So this is actually where we were just looking. Oh, did I close that? Shame. Shame on me. Nope, not this one.
So things like.
Yeah, it's got its own dedicated cargo. You have cargo, the cargo bay.
So this is. Oh my God. This. Just a different angle. We're basically looking down at where this camera is. So you can see this diagonal wall right here. It's the same diagonal wall that's right here. the what else can we reference here? This vertical, or like this wall running down the side here, that's this right here. So you can see that they've changed it. It's no longer showing just like this open carriage with boxes. They're building it up a little bit more. It also looks like there's just more space here. There's more clearance to walk, and the space itself looks a little bit bigger.
Internal cargo bay, and as John says, this.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the bottom floor of the refinery.
Tech something 003.
Yeah, I just have to give indications. Like there is a lot of there is the name of my dog.
With Elite's new colonization, Elite will have everything Star Citizen advertises before Star Citizen is even stable. You know what I say to that? That's great. Elite Dangerous should get Elite Dangerous players then, and they should enjoy that and enjoy everything that Star Citizen players wanted before Star Citizen. You should go play that game. And we'll be here suffering without Elite Dangerous, unfortunately. But you know what? We all get to play what we want, which is pretty nice. Shucks.
In the yellow area, there is
actually even better. We can play fucking both. That'd be nuts.
Gino somewhere.
Where?
Can we point?
If you look at the yellow area, but in the other images.
It's all yellow, mate.
Back in this one?
No, forward.
Forward?
Yep. Yeah, there it is.
What is Brangelino?
Yeah, Brangino.
Brangino! Hell yeah.
And indications on the font. I don't know what to write there, but I know that something has to go there.
No, what
Brangin.
Indeed.
It's gonna be British slang as well, Brangin.
I don't know what to write here.
Brangin.
Make sure it's impact. Is there any significance to the numbers, or is that
Impact, dude?
No, I
remember when I was like a little kid just getting into Photoshop, and everything I ever wanted to do that was like a text-based tutorial would always start with impact. Just look up like Photoshop, cool text effects. And then it would run you through this like 30-step tutorial to make some like weird, it was stuff exactly like this. I'd go and I'd look something like this up and I'd go through the whole tutorial. Every single time I would start with impact. Do they tell you to start with impact here? No, they don't. Heathens. Always start with impact. It's the only way to go about it.
Just literally smash my hand on the keyboard.
I thought it was your height in millimeters.
Harsh.
My age.
You could put more shovels there.
I'm much older than that.
So what is this room?
This is the crafting stations. All of these are crafting pods.
I don't think we have the any shots from the other ones. But clearly it's not orange anymore. I think this might be it. Is it?
Crafting machines?
Yes. So, yeah, much more yellow now.
Yeah, and we try to give every area its own personality and try to be very bold with colors. So this was inspired to.
Honestly, that looks like the drone section, but I guess they just made that area so much bigger.
A current called graphic realism that uses a lot of.
Or it's a different angle,
graphics
maybe.
To point up.
You know, we might be looking down it from over here, maybe.
Points of interest, how to attract the attention of the player towards where you can actually interact with, how to not get lost in such a big ship.
Come back to me real quick. This is where I need to remind folks, because I can already see the chat. These are concepts. These are concepts. These are explorations of what the interior will be. What we're going to look at today, none of these are approved. None of these are now, that's absolutely what we're doing, and we're going into production. That's what the concept phase is. So we are literally exploring the same exploration that's going on right now. You took these screenshots literally yesterday.
Yes.
From things. So has CR even seen these yet?
I believe so.
Okay, I hope so. Hi, Chris.
Ben told me he liked it. So.
It's a lot of yellow.
So
I wonder if when they're going to have cosmetic packs that let you change interiors of ships. Golly, you remember that with the 300 series?
It's not easy to convey. Shut up. Always so mean, Leith. To convey the.
Oh yeah, right. So this is kind of what led Trist, and I know also Execute called this out almost as soon as it came out from the trailer during CitizenCon, that these triangular shapes in the geometry on these ships is a CNOU call out, and it was one of the silhouettes we saw in the video from CitizenCon.
Something so new because we don't have any comparison with other ships. We have one CNOU ship, but is completely different in terms of function and size. So you have to come out with ways to let understand that this is high tech yet industrial. So we don't want to let it look too fancy, but we have to let it look high tech. Doesn't have to be over designed. Doesn't have to be luxury at all. Has to be still a working industry ship made for a B2B type of industry, part of a pipeline. So all these details, even if they don't have particular functions, they help me to convey what kind of details we need to put there, how to distinguish it from Crusader, how to distinguish it from RSI.
Can't look like Crusader.
How to distinguish it from Argo. Is a research just based on finding the personality of CNOU in the industrial part.
I like this floor. I like the little perforations in the floor.
Yeah, all the perforations is meant to show a little bit with the parallax of the maglev cargo plates.
What is maglev? Magnetic levitation.
Oh, okay.
So that we can show with subtle details where the cargo is going to be and where it's not, where you can pass with all the lines and where you can't. Yeah.
Sick.
Basically, what I'm doing right now is trying to find out the rules for the Pioneer.
Small carrier ship, the Liberator?
And by extension, CNOU.
Exactly.
Consolidated Outlets. Sorry, CNOU is our internal abbreviation. We love acronyms.
Oh, yeah.
And game companies in Disneyland love acronyms.
I still don't know what CIG stands for.
Oh, well, if you read Reddit, it's CGI.
It is CGI. That's all they do. They're just Blur Studios with a different name. That's really, I mean, that's mostly what's going on with the Pioneer. There's other information, talk about like the specifics of what it does, but all that can change over time. Generally, that's the idea of what the Pioneer is supposed to be. A freaking ridiculous behemoth of an overpowered ship. It's going to take a lot of work, though, a lot of support, and a lot of people. So, as capable as it is, I do think that they're going to make this be something that like you can't really use unless you've put a lot of time and effort into preparing to use it. And then if you do want to do base building in a more normal way, you've got other ships that are coming out that are significantly smaller than this. But this was the Pioneer, and really people want to hear about it, mainly because it's gotten some work done. Pioneer progressed through white box, benefiting from the additional concept work shown during a recent Star Citizen Live, which we just watched. But don't take it as, oh, the Pioneer's coming this year. It's not coming this year, man. If you go back and you look at the December report, and maybe they took a break from it, maybe they didn't. We had 2 months where there was no ship news. But even back in December, November, they were saying several vehicles progressed through the white and gray box stages, including the Pioneer. So this thing's been in white box since at least December. The fact that it's progressing through white box now does not mean that it's going to get anywhere else soon. It's supposed to be, as we've quoted here before in the past, as was reported from X over on the Inforunners, they take 18 months to build these. The earliest we can probably expect this is like next summer. But even that seems weird. I would say this seems more like a CitizenCon IAE 2026 kind of thing. Either way, that's what we got on the Pioneer. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah, the Liberator. That's what you're thinking of. And that's another ship that I thought would be out earlier. Honestly, I disagree. I think that CIG does need to get the core game loops working, and they need that quickly. I entirely disagree that they should stop everything else just because mining doesn't have its missions or something. Base building is a stupidly important part of this game. Crafting, like, those are things that I would say, yes, please keep developing those. There's like people who want to see just the game work, and there's people who want to see the features get built for the game. And that's a constant argument. But I don't think that they're gonna do much better if they just close off certain parts of the company while they focus on others. Are they selling this concept, the largest base building ship, when they probably could take in all the development and actually implemented the system itself? I don't know what to say to that. Yes, they are selling it. Actually, they're not selling it right now. They did sell it. Did you miss the info about the Vulcan? We did go over the Vulcan. That's a little while earlier. But that'll be out on Space Tomato 2 as well. You got wrecked on the boards because you simply suggested that CIG added interoperability for carrying ships to their pipeline. Latest miner almost fits in a Carrack. They are making ships much smaller. Tell us the last known plans for exploration, especially as we are down to 5 systems on launch. I'll do you one better. I got a video for you on that. Star Citizen Exploration. This video is a little bit older. It doesn't have the information from this past year, but it does talk about what they have said in exploration will mainly be of. Generally, exploration is going to be a lot about identifying signatures that you scan out on a quantum boost level distance. So you scan and interpret signatures, and then you can sell that information, or you can keep it for yourself and, like, you know, go get the stuff that you found. That's going to be the gist of it. A lot of it will be based around looking for, like, minerals, derelict outposts, derelict ships. Some people will really want to find transient jump points, but I don't know how common that'll be. For the time being, you'd like to see 65% on stability and polish and 35% on future stuff. I would say that's probably what they're doing, but add in content. I would say it's like 65-70% stability, content, and playability, and performance, and like 5 to 10% future features, and then, okay, no, that's completely off. Hold on. 60% Squadron 42. And then the rest is split between the content, stability, and the features. Why are we waiting on engineering still? I'm guessing because they don't want to break the game again. They probably would have wanted to put out engineering, but people kind of losing their mind over instability. Now, I would say, why isn't engineering in the EPTU? For sure. I don't understand why that's not a thing. But they're really scared to put stuff in the game that might destabilize it more now. They need to keep players active. Any thoughts on the Rangers and the G12? I don't know why we don't have a G12. Rangers, 2-wheeled vehicles, so that makes sense for not coming around yet. What's the last judgment call on the Polaris' supposed ability to repair and rearm in the hangar? Last I heard it was just this is how it will be, and you can use the hand tools. Yeah, that's, I don't think anything's changed. Once we are able to do repair and rearm, guessing the ship will get it. How hard should it have to have the first base building feature just be a tent with a medical bed respawn? I would have loved that. That's what I wanted, but they have a reason for not doing that. I'm sure if I sat in a room with a developer for more than an hour or 10 minutes, they could probably tell me why it wouldn't be a good idea to do that. But yeah, I wish we could have had just the ability to plant down a bed and sleep in it and use that as our base building. Maybe they just want the system to actually be working before it comes in. I don't know. Impact is a font too. Oh, that's what I was referring to when I was saying impact. I don't know of anything else but a font. Should you have to crunch macaroni salad? Crunch? What does that mean? You heard some things about engineering might be a while. Gumbo, bro, don't tell me that. Why wouldn't they put it in the EPTU? Too much, man. I'm waiting too long to try out engineering. Come on, bro. Come on, just let us test it out on the ships that have it available. I think that future developers and content developers are different people, so you'd figure they can't stop future development. You would, I think you'd be pretty spot on, Sam. It's for good reason. Is it because it's got, hold on, wait for it, a prerequisite? Why do new content that means nothing without economy? Because people having fun, man. It's really easy to find out why. Go to Star Citizen's subreddit and just like scroll for a little bit. I don't even know if, and you'll find people who aren't having fun with it, but we're never having fun with Star Citizen, so that's just the way it is. But like you'll find people who are like, hey, I've had a good time with my org and we're getting to do stuff. Here's a post about the Hathor buildings. Hey, it's from Casa Black. Just like, I mean, you can even see just from the pictures that people are posting, from the things that they're doing. Reddit is the last place you'd visit. It's not the most positive place, but you can, like, the fact that you can still get positivity there, I think is point enough to show that, like, the whole point of the content is just to make people play. What else are they going to put in a game to make people play? It's not new features. That hasn't been working out for them. New features make things more unstable. People don't like new features. People say, why are you adding new features when the game isn't playing well? So they stop adding new features, but you still got to add something to get people to play. The hype would stay high if we knew features were happening in the background. I don't know, man. I think it would help. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like if they were on the EPTU and we knew that they were imminent. That, yeah. As far as them just telling us that the features are being worked on, that only works for some of us. Spend resources making content that's cool once or twice. Nah, man. Hathor's not going anywhere. Wickelow's not going anywhere. The factions that they worked on for these events aren't going anywhere. Supply or Die introduced collection-based missions, and now those are staying. There's a lot of this stuff, they are making it so that it can stick around. Some of it I do think is not going to be a long-term kind of thing, but the supporting things that are being made for these narrative events and content is going to be around for a long time. Got a lot of videos. Thank you for watching them. Everybody should give the game a try. Not a short try, bring your A game. Maybe make sure it's at a level that you can handle though. That stable level, because sinking time into this. E. You stick around, but it's just part of the furniture already, and everyone asking what's next. Yeah, everyone's who's here now. The point of these games, though, you gotta remember, man. The point of these games is they need to build up enough stuff that somebody who enters the game in 5 years has like 200 hours of things to do. That's just the way it is. At least that's the way I think of it. I know it's not a great example. It's not a one-to-one example, but imagine if we got to follow Grand Theft Auto throughout its whole development, and like they were dropping the quests and the different things into the game to do, but every time we played it, we were like, okay, why are you working on this? We just want to play, like, we want what's next now. And they're gonna be like, well, we're gonna release the game in 5 years, and they're gonna play it. That's why we're doing it. Kind of sucks for us because we have to sit here and play it constantly for weeks on end before it becomes old and we can move on to the next thing. But at the end of the day, I hope that the things that they're building now that maybe will feel old to me still lets them make better stuff in the future. So like the Hathor locations allow them to get better idea of how they can link multiple locations and have them fire off some dynamic event kind of thing. They can use the lockers in other places, the key cards and that kind of stuff. I know they've been in contested zones, but just examples, like I hope that they can take stuff from this that's repeatable, but I do think a lot of it is just to make sure that the game plays out for people who want to play it at some point. Elaborate on where it's headed. Aren't we supposed to eventually lose heavier weapons? Oh, the tier 0 stuff? You're going to be able to lose all your weapons. You'll have to make sure to reclaim them or insure them in the future. GTA never sold concepts for 1K. That doesn't matter, man. I'm not talking about funding the game. I'm talking about game development. Just like pick a game. This has nothing to do with money. I'm talking about the act of making something is not always for that immediate moment. It's just you make locations so that years down the line, somebody who is playing some FPS scenario stumbles across this location and is like, wait, what the f is all this? I want to try this out. It's not for the people who watched it in development in the engine behind the scenes for 2 years. It's like when they put the MSR in the game and everybody was like, yeah, everyone's going to know about these crawl spaces, but the average person who's joining the game nowadays doesn't know they exist. Apollo. I'm sorry, the Apollo. I don't know when that's gonna happen. What other game has been in alpha for a decade without base loop fun? I don't know what point you're trying to make, my dude. Star Citizen is a unique situation. Brother, that's not the conversation we're having. I can't tell you any more clearly. This has nothing to do with the time it takes to build something. This is about when somebody builds something for somebody else in the future. It's like planting a flower. What kind of metaphor can I come up with here? Like, you know how babies, when they're made, they don't just like pop out of the body and everybody is suddenly like, oh, this is great. You're like, hey, this baby is going to be a human later that people will appreciate. You guys aren't supposed to be crazy about it right now while it's still in my belly. It's like investment, I think is what people call it. Shot you a DM about the engineering stuff you mentioned. Gumbo, I don't know if I want to read it, man. That's pain. For years, every new player asks, what should I do? And everyone says bunkers. Now it's do Hathor. Yeah, but in 6 months, it's, well, you can do bunkers, you can do Hathor, you can do contested zones, you can do Wicklow, you can grab some mining, you can go salvaging, you can do some cargo hauling, and who knows, maybe we'll have a couple other narrative events and things that people can do. Like, more things are good. Sing mode.
More things can be good.
Now they can't suck. They got to be better, but it's good when they're adding things that stick around. Wait, are you pregnant? Oh, the belly. Oh, the baby. In 30 years, you can cry some more. Oh, you bet, dude. I will be. In 30 years, I'm going to be like, when are we going to get to Star Citizen 1.1? Why are we still on 1.0? All right. You know what? Oh, was I still recording that whole time? Wait a second. Was that all part of the Pioneer video? Dude. Editor's going to have some wild times with these videos today. What's today? The 7th? Today's the 7th, right? Oh my lord. Just want the ability to collect sap from trees on Microtech. Dude. See, Tycho, I need you to be around for that kind of thing. Because somebody at some point is going to be like, oh my god, why are they adding sap to trees? Who wants this? Tycho. Is this guy? You were low flying on Aberdeen and accidentally got too close to the Hathor area. Instantly shot down. Jesus. Yeah, some people are a little trigger happy out there. We need player bounties back, dude. We don't even have any law system anymore. What if nobody gets in trouble for anything? I hope the game is around long enough to see 1.0. Samesies. That's all we can hope for. Well, that and that it's good. Even SC players now just play the new patch, then dip out till next one because nothing matters and it don't matter because the core game don't exist. And that's how it should be. That's how I think people should be playing this game. Don't push yourself to play it if you're done, if you've gotten everything out of it that you think is interesting. Go play something else. There'll be another patch next month. Give it time. Let it breathe. Let them cook. There's no point in forcing yourself to play Star Citizen right now. It's not a full game. It's freaking hanging on by a thread tech demo with some really fun experiences in it. And it's not worth playing for 3 months if there's only 2 weeks of content. That's why they're making more content. They're making more content and they're trying to fix the bugs. They're trying to do the two things that would help the game do better. I'm not about it because I want there to be more features, but I can't really deny that these are the things that they have to do for people to want to play the game. Whee! Still, they're entertainingly, they make no sense. Wouldn't these companies like Hurston themselves acquire the satellites and mine the extremely rare gems? Perhaps. But Hurston's too busy, I don't know, abusing employees and stuff, we'll just say, and limiting. Maybe it's too much work to refurbish them. Honestly, I don't know what the lore reasoning behind it is. So it's weird that so many of y'all sound like you want the game to never actually exist. Dude, is this mic, are the things coming through this mic that I'm saying? I'm at a loss, bro. I want the features to be whatever. Let's talk about the financials. I don't know. CIG releases their financials from the UK at the end of the year. Well, they filed them at the end of the year after that year. So we should have gotten 2023's financials back in like January, February. These are really late. Don't know why. but here they are. They've been released for the year ending the 31st of 2023. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, I have no clue what I'm looking at. Okay. I'm going to get somebody to hop on a podcast to talk more in depth about this. But I have very minimal expertise when it comes to finances. I'm just trying to pay my own taxes and make a living and move on with the day. You know, we run a company and we do our stuff in terms of our company, but our company's scale is obviously much different from CIG. So we don't do this stuff. But this is basically laying out that Cloud Imperium UK Limited operates from the UK, managing the rights for the video games Star Citizen and Squadron 42 outside of the US market. Cloud Imperium UK Limited generates its revenues from its subsidiary Robert Space Industries Limited, a company engaged with the publishing activities for worldwide markets, excluding the US. So CIG is the studio, they're the developer. Robert Space Industries is the publisher. So I guess technically CIG does have a publisher. From its revenues, it directly funds Cloud Imperium Limited, the largest video game development presence in the Cloud Imperium group, and non-publishing activities pertaining to Star Citizen and Squadron. Whole bunch of legalese, legal talk, all the kinds of stuff. It lays out all the different companies that are under the umbrella. Ooh, Drinkers with Gaming Problems has something good on it? Cool. I will check that out. Principal risks and uncertainties. This is a whole bunch of... Organic growth continued with increased momentum over the last year, arising from increased development in the UK. This was combined with merger and acquisition activity by obtaining a controlling stake in Turbulent. Controlling stake, they said. They own 100% of the company now, I'm pretty sure. Like, they fully acquired Turbulent. It is in the umbrella, and it's actually a big part of the money they spent in 2023. I don't remember how much exactly. I don't think, did they mention any sort of like valuation? I remember when it happened. Yeah, it was summer. Yeah, so they had acquired 25% in 2020. And no, they don't have a valuation on here. What's up, Spark? Oh, he's in here? Wait. Hey, Drinkers. You got a minute to hop on and talk about it? I was looking for somebody who maybe had a little bit more to say. Is there a reason the Fortune is so expensive? It seems out of place considering size compared to Zeus and having the Golem at 60. It might be just the output. I definitely wouldn't compare it to the Zeus. They're quite different in terms of what they're catering to. Has that industrial additive to it though that could make a difference. Hey, no problem, dude. Take your time. Feel free to hop on to any of the garden. Any voice channel. Actually, if you can jump into the general chat, that would be good. And then I'll drag you in. With that said then, folks, give me 1 second. I'm going to go grab some water. We'll have an actual discussion about this and go through this a little bit more in depth. I will be back with you shortly. All right. You better not be stealing my audience, dude. You have to watch out. The chair, you guys don't hear it whenever I get back here. The chair whispers little. I think they're nothings. They're not sweet nothings, though. They're quite evil. Just taunts me. Apparently, he's really good at this stream, and you guys often give him a lot of attention when he's here. I don't know about that, though. You just want a space murder. You just wanted a murder spaceships game. A murder spaceships game is wait, but I'm in spaceships. Don't murder those. Do you ever try Squadrons? Not saying that you should change Star Citizen for Squadrons, but just wondering if that was any good for murder spaceships or if that was kind of shallow. SE has increased in polish and stability considering how much focus it's on Squadron. You still don't have a solid flight model. You don't care if they take another 10 years. You don't want to see how polishing a totally incomplete game helps when major core features will break it at 100%. See, dude, but that's what I don't understand. You were saying y'all act like you don't want the game finished, but I'm constantly saying I want the features worked on. Maybe when you say y'all, you don't mean me, but like if you're commenting at me and saying that, that's how I take it. We don't have the playlist on here, unfortunately. Sorry. Working on getting that Spotify support. Games don't come out crazy fast. Get GTA 6. It's slow, but it's also not excuse me. It's also not crowd-funded. Yeah. You've played most of Chris's games. I'm patient. Yeah, but I get what you're saying about it's gone a lot more FPS. It is. It's a lot more planet side and FPS than it is a spaceship game at this point. Well, okay, wait. That came out wrong. I don't mean it's more of that than it is a spaceship game. I mean, there's more focus on that than there originally was. That, yeah. Glad you enjoy the music. They started producing GTA 6 in 2014. So the company as a whole was still working on other games in the meantime, but they started it 11 years ago. Oh, yeah, just hop in any general voice channel, and I'll drag you in a little bit here. Sorry, I just want to catch up with chat real quick. Is there a site to show the most selling ships of SC? Not that I know of, no. 4.1.2, I think, is the Invictus patch. Maybe it'll be 0.1 though. Because they did say they weren't going to do a patch every month this year. Don't know if GTA 6 got delayed. The Elder Scrolls 6 was announced 7 years ago? It was announced the same year as Starfield. Wasn't that 2019? I think that was 2019 or 2020. That was 2018? Holy f***, dude, what? Wow. That's pretty wild. I just kind of lost a little bit there. How many javelins have been sold? Thousands. Thousands, dude. I can't believe this is 2018. That's wild. Okay. Sorry. Let's get to talking financials. I'm going to bring on Drinkers Game of Problems, aka Badgers, aka good. I mean, we've talked. Hello.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How have you been?
Yeah, good, thank you. Sorry, I'm freaking out a little. I've just had to mute you on your stream because I've had you twice. But
yeah. It'd be like that. Been a little while. When is the last show we did together?
So we did, I think, one of the marathon kind of 3-hour info runner shows where we were looking at tier listing every single ship in the game.
Yeah. That was like last month, right? That was February, I think.
I haven't appeared on Info Runners for a while, so it's
okay, it was the last one that was. Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah, okay, that was a while ago. Yeah, those are fun.
How have you been, my friend? You well?
I've been good. Good, yeah. Just, taking this year's Star Citizen development in stride. It's been interesting to watch. But just now getting the financials is kind of an interesting bit, if you don't mind getting right into that. I was wondering why you think they took this long.
Sure. Well, I mean, so a quick disclaimer. I've done a little bit around small businesses, and I have a friend who's taken me through multiple reports. So that's the background for me. I'm not a financial expert myself.
Okay.
And because of the format they put it in, I'm going to have to jump around a bit and find like the bits that I remember seeing. I might not be able to put my finger on them initially.
I'm going to share my screen to you so you can see what I'm looking at, so it's a little easier. Maybe.
Sure.
And also, you did a little summary of this on your own channel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone shared it to me a couple of days ago, so I basically spent all Saturday night into Sunday morning getting it, thinking everyone's going to be on this. This is going to go out, it's going to be all over it, and hopefully I'll be among the first. And then there was just kind of, until seeing you mention it, it's been crickets, which has been really weird.
Yeah, it's been a little bit quiet, I guess maybe because they hit their 80 million funding or 800 million funding things, so that's getting more attention. I don't know, but appreciate you covering it, because as somebody who doesn't know really what what it says, any bit of experience I think helps people at least be able to get something out of it. I don't think we have to understand the inner workings of CIG or anything.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, so in terms of the legal requirements by filing, they've kind of just changed here in the UK. But what we can do is you can actually go and have a look at the historic filing dates. It's done through an organisation here called Companies House in the UK. So I'm just going to find that for you and link it just in case you want to have a look, because I think the dates are pretty similar.
Okay.
I don't think this one's kind of out of the ordinary, but give me 2.
You want to throw it in the side chat in the room we're in?
Yeah, no worries at all. So yeah, so there's whole, all the stuff about, kind of when they've made their different changes of directors and stuff. That's this is where it's come from. So
okay.
Let's have a look. So.
Oh my gosh! For a second, I thought this said
Sorry.
Director Ezra Klein on here for a second. I was gonna be like, wait a second, what?
So it
Music
doesn't
loud?
look like I've got the ability to put it in side chat, so I've just fired it at you in a message.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, unfortunately the page is from the UK government, so it's not the easiest thing in the world to read. But it's got loads of stuff on there, and then basically what we're looking at is the repeat posts of group of companies' accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 4th of April 2025, then 11th of March 2024, 10th of Jan 2023. So it seems to be getting a little bit later, but
yeah. Soon we're going to be getting it 2 years later.
On the other page of this. Yeah, it still lists it as overdue.
That's interesting. Actually,
so apparently these.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so it says on their actual file page, and I can fire that at you as well. It says accounts overdue. Next accounts made up to 31st of December were due at 31st of December 2024 from 2023. So it looks like they're kind of consistently late, but I guess they're not really, being chased for it. So
wait a second, hold on. CIG late?
I know, right? It's such a new experience for us.
All right. Well, let's jump into the report. The biggest thing I think everybody probably wants to know is how much money did they make? So I don't remember what page that's on, but we could just go straight there at least first.
So yeah, it's kind of the first page of graphs. So I think it's their page 13.
13, yeah.
Which is ominous. So the bottom line here is they are listed as an $8.4 million £8.4 million loss.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the whole story, obviously.
Versus the year before making an £8.5 million gain.
Absolutely that. Yeah, so basically there's a couple of pages of this. So that's the profit and loss for the entire group, not just the UK arm of the business. The next 2 pages are basically kind of the statement of the group and then of Cloud Imperium UK. So people kind of going through, and so on page 15, the company statement, there's a sentence, the top sentence under all the financial gump says the company's loss was 20 million. But obviously they were focusing on Squadron 42, so that's been offset by the rest of the group.
Mm-hmm.
So it there's a lot to dig through here. But yeah, so that's basically it. It's when what they've said is that the revenue has actually gone up 47.9 mil this year versus 44.5 last year.
47.9. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
I see. Sorry.
Go on.
I see on the page 14 a couple lines here. Current assets list stocks, debtors, and cash at bank in hand. Do you know about that?
Yeah. So it basically what this is saying is that the stocks so much, I think that's effectively stocks that they hold elsewhere. Cash at bank is the money that they've carried forward from last year, or that they have remaining from everything that they bought this year. So that in some bank account somewhere, that's what they've got. The debtors is the outstanding. There's a note there, note 18, and it actually kind of gives you, I think, a little bit more information as to who owes them what.
Where are the notes?
Yeah, so it scroll down. So from their pages, it's page 38.
38.
Yeah, this is crazy. What I suppose it's worth mentioning as you find this, the first few pages are from CIG themselves. Those are the pages that Erin and that have signed. So it's their kind of declaration.
Mm-hmm.
Everything after that is actually done by a company here in the UK called PricewaterhouseCoopers. So it's independently audited.
Okay.
So, it provides a little bit more kind of reassurance that what's going on is right, not, it's not just bluster. But the key thing here, I think, is corporation tax recoverable. That's the majority of the money that they've got coming in the next year.
Corporation tax recoverable. Okay.
Yeah. The UK and France are two countries in the world at the moment that are offering tax breaks for video game development, as long as the company that's claiming it, the majority of the company is based in the UK, or doing its work within the EU, basically.
Right. So, does it's probably kind of expected then to think that this whole move everybody to Manchester, get everybody under one umbrella is also, I mean, obviously it's financially beneficial to have everyone in the same place, but it's going to let them get more tax breaks, which is what they already were there for.
Yes. Yeah, exactly that. And that's going to last until 2027. So the UK have announced that ends in 2027. I'm not sure if France is doing the same thing, but that's that.
Now, is it possible that with so we saw that they made more money the year before. I think we had seen, or that their profit was higher year before. Is it possible that they were just trying to kind of game the system a little bit since they acquired Turbulent to just have a loss to get more of the tax breaks that you're talking about?
Sure. So yeah, so they basically get a discount, or if they post a loss, there's another system that they can apply for, which is like a credit. That I'm not entirely sure how that works, but it is listed and it's on the gov.uk website if people want to dig into that. Basically, what they've done here, the bottom line is, there's, with the new Manchester Goods Yard HQ, there's a requirement in the lease that when they hand it back to the landlord, they hand it back as it was given to them. So what they've done is they've gone, okay, let's spitball how much we think that costs. And then they've applied it to the profit and loss sheet because they've recognized that as a cost. So no money has changed hands. It doesn't mean the end of the lease is imminent. They've just gone, okay, when we pass the property back, we're going to have to take out, the only constant and all that sort of stuff and hand it back to them so it can be used by the next people who aren't complete nerds like us.
So they're basically tracking how much work they're going to have to do when they move out and keeping that on their docket.
Yeah. And they're absolutely, and this basically is on page 47. In fact, no, tell a lie. I've looked at the wrong bit. I'll find it for you.
That's
in just
a great
second.
idea. You don't want to get caught off guard by that.
Exactly that. It's, to kind of use an analogy, it would be us, in a rental property thinking, okay, well, when I leave here, I'm going to have to sort that stain on the carpet, and then I need to fix that thing that I broke, and then, I'm going to need to get the pet hair cleaned out. So, however much money I say I'm going to have when it comes to moving house, I know I'm going to have to pay that. They've done that now. It's note number 20, which is on page 39.
Number 20.
Yeah, and just paraphrasing, it basically says the group has recognised a provision under its property lease agreement for the UK head office located in Manchester, requiring the property to be restored to its originally categorised standard upon lease termination. They've basically said, well, that's £10 million. So they've just gone, we'll recognise that. So they've not paid any of that. That money hasn't gone anywhere. It's a massive, the rest of that is just saying, hey, they've taken a guess. They've kind of adjusted that figure for inflation and interest and all this sort of stuff. It's a guess. But
still,
that's why. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say that's a good idea to have that there. I mean, it's gonna help you avoid any sort of accusations that you're trying to hide losses or something like that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's that sort of thing that, because, you know, obviously corporate finances work different to our personal finances. They have to recognize that they are now contractually obliged to pay out in order to return that property to the way they got it. That had to go somewhere, and that you'll actually see that is on that first sheet on page 13. It's under administration costs. It's just a little bit over the figure that they quoted, because they obviously have other admin costs as well. But it is, you know, that's where it goes. So that page, whatever it was, 13, you'll see the admin's costs have gone up massively to over 10 million. That's where they put that cost.
Okay. So this is new. They didn't have it before factored in?
So I think they've just kind of recognized it now. So they've moved in, and they've obviously, it's in their contract.
Well, so then that if they didn't have that in, it would have been a profitable year.
Exactly that. Yeah, about just over 1.6 mil profit.
Which is, I think, what they were doing in profit back in like 2017-ish area time, 2018.
Yeah, exactly that. And then you take out, I think it said that the purchase of the remaining 75% of Turbulent was 4.5 million, was the consideration that they paid it for it. So, yeah, it's it makes for very glum reading, and this is why I want to kind of get out of I wanted to get out ahead of the, oh my god, this is the heat death of the universe sort of take on it, you know?
Why do you think it reads very glum?
I think it's just that. I think, you know, people will look at that first figure and go, they've gone from 8.5 million ahead to 8.4 million behind. And like you say, it took me quite a while to sit and read and understand this.
Yeah.
Most of us are not financially minded.
Yeah,
you know?
that's easy to miss this. We don't even know what an administrative expenses is. Where does it say, so cash on hand here? Debtors, cash on hand. So that doesn't seem right? That says 18.9 million in debt, but they do have cash on hand. Where do I find that?
So next page down is page 14. Cash at bank and in hand, that's owing to them.
Okay.
So yeah,
in total they have 40 million.
So yeah, so that's and then you kind of take away. Sorry, I'm kind of frantically putting this all back together in my head.
No problem.
Yeah,
no problem.
So yeah, so that's their assets, and then they remove kind of the figure under the liability. So that's, again, that provision for liabilities there, which is like, it has the note 20 next to it.
Okay.
That's the liability that we've just been talking about. Yeah.
These get added up together, make 11.8 million, subtracted from what they have in total, gives them net assets of 33.2. So their net assets from 22 to 23 dropped 7 million. But in total, they still have 33 million in equity in reserves, including their debtors, which is probably, like, if they completely stopped making any money at all, is just like a few months, 6 months, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which, to be quite honest, I don't know how much a freaking normal company has on hand to run without any sort of revenue coming in.
I think that strikes me as crash rich when you look at the kind of total turnover, to have a significant portion, maybe even a quarter of that on hand, ready to go. That strikes me as quite a good situation to be in.
Let's see what good old reliable Google AI has to say about it. As a general rule of thumb, companies should aim to keep enough cash on hand to cover 3 to 6 months of operating expenses to ensure they meet obligations even during periods of low cash inflow or unexpected events. I wonder if unexpected events could possibly include the freaking fall of a stock market.
Well, yes, quite.
But yeah, 3 to 6 months, at least according to Google Gemini, is considered healthy. But they also, I mean, they've been expanding a lot. Do you think they're going to continue with the expansions that they've done, or do you think that's kind of what we're seeing here in terms of costs, and now we've even seen a little bit of downsizing at some points?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because one of the things they recognize when CIG, on the first few pages, they say, you know, we recognize that we're coming off the back of the pandemic and the lockdown, and that has been a very bumper period of growth because obviously people weren't doing much else. And they say there that they're recognizing now that the market's in for a tough few years as of 2023. So they seem to be quite aware of the fact that things were not going to potentially be all roses. So whether they've then decided to continue growing, I'm frantically looking through as we're talking. There is a bit where it says it's got a comparison of wages and pensions and everything year on year, and it's gone up significantly.
Yeah,
very significantly.
I wonder how much the more senior level departures have been helping with. Well, helping is freeing up money for wages for other lower level developers.
Yeah, I no idea. I think what's interesting there is that the wages and salaries went up massively. The pension costs actually dropped.
Where is that on?
So that's their page 31, note 7. You're basically looking at the kind of just under the middle bottom.
Aggregate remuneration comprised wages and salaries. Oh yeah, 26.6 up to 49.
Not far off double.
Yeah. Wowzers. Gotta pay the people. People gotta eat. Oh yeah, and then okay, cool. So they have the group numbers here too. So we know that the company's much bigger than this, so they kept expanding. Because they hit 1,100. Didn't they say something like, wait, hold on. It's in here. Between LA, Austin, Frankfurt, and Manchester, CIG now has over 1,100 employees. And that was in July 2023. So where's the disconnect there? Is this not including a group? You see what I'm referring to?
So I do. That's interesting. Why is that?
Turbulent had 189 employees. So even if Turbulent wasn't included in this number, oh, actually, no, that gets them up to 1,100. So maybe they just didn't include Turbulent here.
Yeah, possibly. I think the confusing bit there for me is it says the oh, there we go. That's why it's the average monthly number of persons employed.
Ah, right. Sorry, guys. I'm a gamer. I don't read. Don't ask me for proof of things.
I feel like I've used my quota of reading for the year on this one document, and that's it.
Yeah, dude. This is a hefty one. I mean, look at how easy it is to miss anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really take away too much from this of how the company is doing, but they're clearly to put it in very simple terms, they're doing company things. And
yes.
Obviously, none of us in this chat think this is a scam because they're like continuing to try. Well, maybe somebody does. Maybe you're just watching this. But I think this does show that they are trying to make what they're doing work. It shows that they're under pressure. and they're not just kind of willy-nilly. But I think the biggest thing is like Squadron 42 needs to come out.
Yes, and I think that there is. I don't think it's a coincidence that it's absolutely happening in, or as far as we know, absolutely happening in 2026, and the UK tax breaks finish the year after. To me, that reads very much like they're trying to switch from, the income of the tax breaks to income of Squadron 42.
Yeah, and don't they have some investment stuff going on this year and next? Is that what you're referring to?
So yeah, I think just in terms of getting the income from Squadron 42. So I think like you say, this indicates to me very strongly that there's nothing to worry about. Firstly, the fact that in 2023, the year before they take decision to close the LA studio, they're talking about things are going to get tough, and the financial market is. We know that the games market may well take a bit of a downturn. So that's kind of planned that. And also the fact they haven't gone back to selling Squadron 42 yet, despite the fact they've got that incredible kind of hour-long gameplay thing. I think we're in a good place.
Yeah. I think there was also some word on the original Calder investment that they it insinuated that they were expecting a timeline that tracked to around 25. And I think everybody is gonna probably admit and say that they can't solely rely on selling ships forever. They need to have a game out there that's speaking for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'll for us as the gamers, it'll show us what happens when CIG are actually focusing on a project. Because in their own words, they've been focusing on Squadron 42 as a Star Citizen. And I think that will really either give us a big confidence boost or make us very worried as to what's going to happen in Star Citizen.
Yeah, oh my god. That game can't be like mid even. It's got to be a good game at this point. Like a 85 plus kind of Metacritic scoring game. Good
Absolutely.
luck, CIG.
I think it's kind of an interesting look at Chris and how he works, because he's made this big thing. This is the games he wants to make. He can finally do what he wants to make. He must be terrified of actually releasing it. He must be really worried about, God, what if I release this and it doesn't get a good reception? There's a lot to worry about. But from what I've seen, I'm happy.
There was some talk. I saw people saying that there was a little bit more of an investment from the Calders in the support. Did you have a look at that or talk about that?
Yeah, so there is a note in here that from CIG that the beginning of this year they took a $10 million loan from a stakeholder. And again, I think that's business stuff because they can write off the interest payments as a business cost and all that sort of stuff. And, unless 2024 shows up to them to suddenly have no working capital, I think that's accountant games rather than, oh my God, we're going to go under imminently.
Just moving numbers to make things cost less.
Yeah. And this time last year, there was that big hoo-ha about, oh my God, the stakeholders can draw out, they can sell their shares back to the company.
Yeah.
And is this a deadline and everything else? That's actually been renegotiated in here, it looks like, because they've now pushed everything a year right. But it still has... So, I think, let me have a look. So that's note 31, which is on page 47, the very last page.
Okay.
So you'll note now, I think that it says that they can basically withdraw a year later.
Shares were excisable January 24th and March 24th. Shares put their first rights are excisable within 30 days of the financial statements being delivered of the year ending the 2025, and within 30 years of the financial statements being delivered for the year ending 2028.
Yes. So given the fact that we're getting 2023s in 2025, 2025 is not going to be to 2027, but it still has that line, the second to last paragraph of note 31. It says another reason they're not listing it is because it's only payable out of cash in excess of what's required to effectively operate the business. So they've still got that line that says they can't draw it out and shut everything down. CIG
okay.
can still say, no, we need that money
Yeah.
to keep running the business effectively. So it's not anywhere near as scary as it first sounds.
That's a big statement, I think, for the investors to be willing to put in there. That's very friendly.
Yes. There's two parties to that. Both sides will have had to have agreed to that renegotiation.
Yeah.
So the shareholders are obviously not feeling any burning need to pull that money out. Otherwise, they would have gone, no, I want my buyback option now.
In your mind, is this them basically? This is their delay to the investors. This was them being like, well, the game was going to come out by 2024. It's not. This is our delay. Can we pay you back at this time? And them basically saying, yeah, that's cool. Looks good.
Yeah, I'm reading between the lines here. This would have been discussed well before anything was signed, and it would have been the investors saying, hey, look, we get it. We're on board with the vision. Our concern is that this doesn't happen. The funding drops off or whatever. What guarantee do we have? What entices us as an investment? What's our backstop? And CIG say, okay, well, we'll give you the option to buy back 6%. So, because they're not publicly traded, that gives the investors at some point the option to buy out and give all that control back to CIG. And this is, I don't think this is so much a stay of execution. I think it's both sides kind of agreeing that, they're going to keep giving them that option because there's no, requirement. The stockholders aren't panicking. They're not suddenly needing to, the stockholders, to get their money out and get it out now, sort of thing.
The commentary is always that the backers, the players, the people who did the crowdfunding are the ones constantly being like, yeah, take more time, and being like taken. But it's kind of funny to see the actual money. I'm not to say that the investors have more of a pull than anybody else or anything like that. Just the fact that they have such a large stake, yet they're still going to be like, well, let's take more time. I don't think that's all good news, but
yeah, absolutely. And I think it speaks well to, one of the things that really got me when I first found this. So I discovered the project in 2013 because I remember going into work and making everyone watch that Kickstarter video with the Bengal and just going, look at how cool this is. And, that kind of everyone else just going, what is this? It's like, no, watch it. You'll love it. But one of the things that really caught me was when Chris said that he wanted to do this without a publisher. Right. So he wasn't being held to deadlines and everything else. And it's nice to see that obviously he's been very careful about who's buying stock, because they too seem to be very helpful to happy to go, we're not going to hold this over your head, it's fine, keep going, sort of thing.
That's fair. As was mentioned in chat, I mean, they knew each other already, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It works if you know somebody who kind of knows how you work, but also maybe is willing to still work with you if you've had some struggles in the past. But hopefully it works out for everybody, including us.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially us.
I am seeing in chat, so obviously this was covered, that you mentioned this earlier, that this was covered last year, and there was terms that said that the investors could pull out their shares, and if they sell their shares, they'll bankrupt the company. I think you actually, Hustle, he had already gone over this, right? That's what this agreement is for. They can't do that. They are not allowed to pull out their shares if it would damage the company to the point where it can't operate, right?
Exactly that. So that's what it says, is that, just to paraphrase it as I read it, it's called put terms. If the put terms are exercised, i.e. if the stake holders sell their shares back to CIG at a 6% premium, this would only be payable out of available cash in excess of what it is required to effectively operate the business. So they get to say, hey, this isn't, I need this cash to keep working on Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. You can't have it. You can have out of the pot of what's left. And then that keeps going until the cash becomes available. That's what that says there.
Yeah. And we know other people have covered this before. What they didn't cover was this is a new agreement. This has been renegotiated in this agreement. So what you guys read last year is no longer true regarding how the investors can or will pull their money out of the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so that's that. Is that it's categorically they cannot pull that out until it's said, because it's not publicly traded, so they don't have the same ability to get rid of their shares as they would if it were, traded normally.
Cool, man. Well, any other interesting bits here or thoughts or things you thought people might want to know about?
No, I think the bit that I guess people might find interesting is there is a section that shows kind of the breakdown of the turnover, and exactly between subscriptions, merch, and sales where that's come from. And I'm frantically trying to find it as we talk. I think it's one of the first notes. I think. Yeah, so it's note number 3 on page 29. There's the early access, which they say accounts for all of the game packages and ships, and the armor and everything else. There's subscription and merchandise. So subscriptions now back at the level it was in about 2019, 2020.
You said note 23?
Sorry, note 3 on page 29. Sorry. So yeah.
Subscription.
Just while you have a look at that, just to respond to Hustle. Sorry, I'm responding to your chat for you, but
go ahead.
But note 31, the second to last paragraph, Hustle, is the second to last paragraph actually highlights that and says that they can't withdraw that without agreement. So, and they can't do so to damage the company. So yeah.
Yeah. If that's why I just sent that link as the source. It's right here on the screen right now. If you guys want to read it. Another reason is due to the nature of the put terms, as if exercised, the put proceeds would be payable out of available cash in excess of that required to effectively operate the business, and thus the liability would remain undischarged until such available cash becomes available.
Yeah, because I see what Hustle's saying about it would make absolutely 0 sense for a private investor to agree to that. I think that shows the level of trust and agreement between the stockholders and Chris and CIG, that they believe in the project enough that they're willing to agree to a term to that, like that. So yeah.
So yeah, subscriptions. And you were saying they had dropped and were up to another level again?
Yeah, so they've dropped about 250,000, about $250,000 from last year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that the last time I think they were at that level was 2019, 2020, one of those financial reports.
Man, they did
I
not
was really
make
sad.
much.
No. I was really sad and went and opened all the financial reports listed on that company's house thing. So
Sounds like the marketing campaign has begun. I don't know. I think they might begin at the end of this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think it's probably going to be about a 6-month warning. I mean, I imagine it'll have dates on it. But Chris said a little while ago, he said, "Oh, normal games you get about 6 months warning," and I wonder if that's kind of like what he's got in his head for how much he's going to give it for the release date. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right, dude. Thank you so much for coming to join and talk about this. I don't know what the heck I'm looking at, and I definitely wouldn't have caught all this stuff that you had mentioned. Everybody, go check out his own summary of it. I'm sure it will have this in a much more condensed version. But also, give him some views. We appreciate the hopping on here to give some knowledge. Thank you for that, man.
Thank you, Space. Thanks for having me. It's been great, and I shall continue to lurk and watch along. But thank you very much.
Of course, my dude. I'll catch you around.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
All right, I hope that was a little informative, because I feel a little better informed. I can't say that. I mean, I'm not going to say whether or not this is like great or bad. Name to go check out is Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Mrs. Tomato just tagged it in the chat. Thank you. I can't say this is good or bad for CIG. I would say every time we see the financials come out, no, this is not that. So we can go back and look at really any of them from way back. And every time these come out, it's always interesting to see for sure. And I think it gives a sense of transparency. But I like this format. I like being able to dig a little bit deeper into this stuff because it's not always just about the numbers. Every time I see it though, mostly what I'm getting from it is that somebody is being very careful about figuring out how much money they can spend. I mean, just looking at the totals they were making here, it catapulted. It freaking exploded. In 2014, they're making 35. In 2020, they're making 80. And I guess some companies explode way faster than that. But throughout that whole time, they were keeping their margins fairly trim. So even though they were getting a little bit out of hand in terms of like their development time, their marketing, and just things going on, they've financially been pretty responsible, it seems. And unfortunately, they've done a lot of not great things to keep that financial situation stable for themselves. I personally think they've done a lot of baiting and FOMO and practically lying when it comes to timelines, and that is not a good way to operate. You need to stop doing that. Please stop doing that. But they did keep the company going financially pretty healthy, and it seems like they are still at that point. They have enough to operate for 6 months. They have a very agreeable situation with their investors. They're working on the whole point of the game that makes them money, which is making the game more playable. They're finishing up their game engine, and they're consolidating to run a little bit more efficiently. It sounds like they're making all of the moves you make when you want a strong, long-running big company. The moves they're making definitely don't feel like that sort of mom and pop shop feel they had a long time ago. They lost that around 2018 or so, but it certainly feels corporation style, and it feels responsible in the same way as a corporation. That feels wrong to say because corporations do really crappy things. but if you were going to compare it to, like, say, an indie company that you don't really know if they're going to continue development or not, I would say this feels a lot more like a corporation, like a big publisher that is a little bit more secured in its ability to keep doing what it needs to do to keep going. Wonder if this relates a bit to their decision on the digital CC. I think that decision is mainly focused on Squadron and just that they need development to keep happening. Yeah, it does. I mean, they did have a lower funding year the next year, but keep in mind they added that $10 million on top of their costs for this year. They also acquired Turbulent in that year. So I'm sure they were running it close last year and they probably still had a loss, but I don't think, like, this doesn't read like like they're in a bad place. They might have a couple bad years here. They need to get Squadron 42 out. Wonder if they completed all of Squadron or they'll ramp up again to develop parts 2 and 3. I think that depends on how well Squadron does. You gotta have a real good game to justify making 3 of them. One would hope with the completion of the tech, they're close on 2 and 3 will be faster. And that will be faster for sure. If Squadron is doing well, that will make them much money. If Squadron launches well, like best case scenario, Squadron launches very good, gets anywhere from an 85 to a 90 Metacritic score, has great press right out the bat. Immediately, what's their name? Something Saber Interactive immediately picks it up and gets a console. They get a console fork. What do you call it? Not a fork. Port. Saber Interactive picks it up and does a console port. Squadron goes onto Xbox and PlayStation. CIG makes $800 million in a single year from sales. Then yeah, they'll go on to Squadron Episode 2, Squadron Episode 3. The PU's gonna be sitting pretty, but probably won't happen. It could make them a lot of money though. I had a friend over, was that yesterday? Saturday. I had a friend over Saturday who kind of has seen Star Citizen here and there, and he's talked about it, and he remembers me talking about it like freaking 10 years ago. And he sat down and watched the Squadron 42 video, and he was like, oh yeah, like all this time I've seen sort of like the tech demo releases of Star Citizen, which are cool, and they show some stuff, but I've never been interested in playing. But like, I would play this. I would buy this, Squadron 42. This dude doesn't play space games. He's just into cool games. And it doesn't take much to get people to at least be interested in playing the game, and I think they have a real potential chance there. Yeah, Squadron 42 definitely needs to come out. Do you think any reviewers will give good ratings? Yeah, absolutely. Reviewers are more interested in Star Citizen than people give them credit for. Like, reviewers like cool video games, and this project could ultimately be a cool video game. Some people are angry about it, but you could just go to like a Star Citizen passes 800 billion. Star Citizen passes 800 billion in funding. No, you can probably go read about this. Might have one of the most infamous crowdfunding efforts in gaming history. Opening in 2012, money keeps pouring in. Once more, it's reached a milestone, 800 million. However, as reported by Simulation Daily, this comes as developer confirms that CitizenCon will not be held in person this year, so the team can instead focus on development. As of the time of this writing, they've raised this much money. Doesn't come through donations. You have to put down $45 with CitizenCon being reworked. They're eager to not miss another window, so they're working on Squadron. Yeah, we get that. Team is hard at work on upcoming major milestones. Energy is high. This is just a quote from the website. Just more quotes. Like these are how the stories are written. They're not negative. They're just reporting the news. If Squadron 42 comes out and it's good, a large amount of people will give it the credit it's due. If it's not good, they will do the same. That being said, I do think there's going to be a lot of pre-scored, like inherited pre-score for both people like us and people who are not as into the game. You think they know that Squadron is good and they're getting ready for a big influx of players. Hope you're right, Gumbo. CIG is not any other popular developer. Single-player games are released in droves every day and nobody notices. I don't know what you mean by that. Like they'll release the game and nobody will notice? I don't think Squadron 42 is like other games that get released in droves. I think it will definitely make noise. It doesn't matter whether Squadron 42 is good, bad, mediocre, mid, just okay. It doesn't matter what the heck happens to Squadron 42. It's going to make noise when it comes out. It's going to be the biggest meme for months before it comes out. Nobody's going to believe it actually is coming out till the day it drops in people's libraries. Hope we will be alive. Oh, you mean just that it's not going to be significant for CIG? It better be. They need that money. Many people that bought Starfield didn't play space games. True. You hadn't heard that about CitizenCon. You like that. Yeah, they are making it fully digital this year. It'll be kind of like it was in 2022, I think. Astropub seems pretty confident. His source saying CIG is going to put Squadron 42 on Steam day one when it... Dude. That would be crazy! Could you imagine if Squadron got dropped on Steam? I'll do you one better, dude. Drop Arena Commander as well on Steam and make that free to play. Oh my god. And if it actually plays well, that would be nuts. Migs, thank you for the super chat, my friend. You just lost 8 refinery orders to the ship destroyed after storing, retrieving, and hangar bug. Never mind financials. I need to audit my emotions right now. I'm sorry, Migs. That's a lot of freaking refinery orders. I am so sorry. These hangars need to get freaking fixed. That's misery. Who remembers Wing Commander knows what all players are missing? Too many big name actors not to... Yeah, that's also the case. The big name actors who are playing it. You remember about last time when Mark Hamill posted a video about Squadron 42? And people were like, is this a new Netflix series coming out? God, I hope not. Honestly, I'd expect Netflix to cancel Squadron 42 Part 2 before CIG does. And CIG hasn't even released Part 1. GTA 5 still makes $500 million a year on in-game purchases, which is kind of wild, and that is around 15% of what Fortnite makes each year. Well, those are released games, you know. Despite what people will tell you, released games make a lot of money. Well, when they're good. Is there any other AAA cinematic single-player game released the last 5 years? I think not. Well, that's, again, what my friend was saying on Saturday. He was just like, I don't know of any other game that I've seen like this. He was like, I can't... It was literally just the part where the player's walking around the ship in the beginning of the game. And he's like, there are just not any other games I can name where this has happened in a long time. We brought up Mass Effect, but that game wasn't really focused on the ships. It was just kind of you were in the ships while the story was taking place. You talked about Outer Worlds, but that again isn't really focused on large ships and living in space. It's more an RPG story you're following. We talked Starfield. Really, we couldn't come up with anything that had that sort of same vibe. Actually, the best parallel we came back to was Halo Combat Evolved, when you're walking around Pillar of Autumn. Hell yeah, Garden Gathering for this year's sitcon's gonna be sick. Yeah, as Mrs. Tomato's saying in chat, we're gonna be hosting our own Garden Gathering for this year. Anybody who can't make it, we'll make sure that a digital attendance is possible. Henry Cavill, yeah. You know they're making a TV show. Listen. As a big ol' fan of Halo, so much that I got this ridiculous, gigantic ink splotch on my arm for the first freaking tattoo I ever got to honor the game. As a big old fan of Halo, that IP is so good. I really wish they could have just turned it into some good shows, some more Forward Unto Dawn, maybe. a good movie here and there from Peter Blomkamp. Like, we could add great stuff in Halo. I'm not the kind of person who doesn't want to see expansions of lore and IPs as long as it's done well. So Squadron 42 and Star Citizen have a ton of lore. I'd love to see them branch out on that and give us something nice to watch. Something a little good to watch, you know? Something a little... Man, I don't know what any of these sounds are. What is that? It's not a sound. What is that? Ananzi, that one's for you. You ever play any of the Wing Commander series? I did not. I probably should on stream at some point. Do I think Richard Tyrer as game director is part of the reason the PU leans towards PvP currently, since he was previously in charge of the FPS game teams? No, I think it's just natural flow of development. I don't even really feel like it's leaning into PvP. I think it's just it's easy to feel that way because combat is so loud. And they are focusing on content, and generally working features in Star Citizen are based around content. The more they try making content based around things like cargo and freight elevators, the more people will be affected by those things. So the content is focused more on the stuff that works a little bit better now. That being said, some of the content has used freight elevators, and the mining stuff is broken. But I don't think it's because of Rich, particularly. Did you listen to the Halo audio story on the run-up to Halo 4? Oh, God, I loved it. Loved it, man. Yeah. Hunt the Truth, right? If I'm not mistaken. That was such a great marketing campaign. No, it was 4. It was Halo 4, because it was when they had Locke going after the Chief. Gonna have to be careful with how you park your cargo haulers in the future. Yeah, no kidding. I'm sorry about that. Game's still broken, but way more stable than it was in 2021. In 2021, wonder if there are any, like, if there's any gameplay we can look up from then. Hey, remember when all the streams were purple? I think we are on the cusp of very much expanding away from cargo, or from combat. Things like engineering, ship systems, FPS scanning, fauna, ground locations, planet tech. I think a lot of these things are going to start to draw emphasis away from shooting and combat. But we're still a little bit stuck in that trough of where the heck are our good features? As you guys can see, I didn't really play the game too much back then. I was mainly just covering it. Oh, here's where we first started streaming on YouTube. Wow, those first streams got a lot of views, huh? Yeah, I guess I wasn't even streaming. Wasn't really streaming on YouTube in 2021. 2022. The freaking same song. We were starting with the same song back then. Love that consistency. And we're gonna get a helmet. Holy crap, wait. This is in the tall house. Wow. When did I start streaming on YouTube? Oh, wait a second. Okay, obviously, in the 20th was the first one, and then we didn't stream, I guess, for a while. And then August of 2022. Wow. I got a ship to give away. I did not even know that we were streaming. We started in this house. I thought we started earlier than that. Space drama song. I just love me some Deus Ex, dude. The music in Deus Ex. But yeah, how was the game playing back then? Ooh, what's FBL? Okay, let's not. I don't want to hear him. This was... I think we had already had all of our inventory stuff added to the game by this point. Whenever the stability gets better for me, I'll start playing more. And when there's more stuff that I'm dedicated to. That's actually true. That's why that's why all these streams back then were not gameplay. See, look at how my yikes. Yeah, it was just not fun for me to play back then. It was getting a little bit better by this point. But yeah, I definitely waited until like 2 years later to start actually playing. That young face. Look at that no mustache guy. And look at these working hangers. Still a great pilot, though. Still a fantastic pilot, though. So here's the total death count back then. 2022, we were at 105. 2025, we're at 272. Come on. I clearly I got a lot better than this. I don't even know what we were doing back then. Looks like we were bounty hunting. Why are we flying around so much? Hey, I see Jaybird in here. Lanier, I see names in this chat. Yeah, I was good at combat. Not bothering until the flight model's finished. Fantastic aim. I think this is before they reworked the gimbals again. So I couldn't even get a freaking shot on target. But that's just because I'm not a good dogfighter. Streamception. All right, y'all. Anybody else have any more questions? I think we've been over everything today that I was going to cover. Oh, you don't miss jousting? We were so effective at it, though. Interesting. Any Invictus ship release predictions? I'm gonna say the Paladin and the TAC seem pretty likely. Well, I would say the TAC actually seems more likely than the Paladin, aside from the fact that the TAC isn't UEE. Well, I think the Paladin does get used by the UEE, but those both seem like pretty likely choices, and then I'm sure we'll see one that we don't know about yet. What's my favorite pie? Gosh, I don't know. Any that Mrs. Tomato makes, really? Freaking the pumpkin pie and apple pie she makes. Oh my lord. And then she makes the crust from scratch. I can't. Have you tried mining with the golem? Yeah, I played a little bit with Red Monster using the golem. I didn't really experiment enough to know what you should use with it though. Sounds like a helix would be good. Something to reduce your instability for sure. What's the best way to support financially? Through subs, Patreon, or what? Patreon makes the most sense. It also gives us the most ability to like give back to you guys. You get the chat room on the Discord. You get your own private feed of the exclusive videos we release. You'll get at a certain level on Patreon. We add your referral code to our referral code randomizer. So basically anytime people use the code under my videos or on the stream or anything like that, there's a chance that you actually get the referral. Sure, that won't matter for people much until July, but Patreon's the best place just for the back and forth kind of aspect of it. Thank you, by the way, for asking. Appreciate you. What kind of game will Squadron 42 be comparable to open world style? I think it'll be kind of like Halo Combat Evolved episode level 2, or like Wing Commander. I don't know how Wing Commander worked, but it I think it's going to be mostly guided with your ability to do stuff that you want to do. But it definitely, it needs to be it's not going to be fully open world because of the whole military aspect. Golem only comes with one laser. Yeah, he was in one golem, I was in another. Good to see you, by the way, John. Welcome into chat. Been a little while, dude. How have you been? Maverick Streamathon will be starting on Saturday morning over here. So around the same time we start this one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Mrs. Tomato, can you confirm? Girl Scout cookie cheesecake, hell yeah. Been here a while. Oh, I missed your chats, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Mass Effect with Wing Commander's story. Does that mean I can get all my people killed? Love the sticky toffee pudding. I don't need the custard. I'm not a huge custard person, unfortunately. I do like a good custard. Actually, Mrs. Tomato also makes very good custard. But I'll just take the sticky toffee pudding, thank you. A couple dates, some sugar, a little butter, some cake. I'm getting hungry now. Tell you what, how about you guys, we meet back here on Wednesday to talk a little bit more about games and stuff, but maybe I start my 0 to hero character on Wednesday. We finally jump in with the fresh account and see if I can make a living doing stuff that's not just pew-pewing all the time, although I probably will shoot a lot of people. I enjoy that. After that, then we go and we do some cooking and actually have a foodie stream because I'm always hungry at the end of these. And it's much better that way. Also hungry because it's lunchtime. There's also that. Murder in food. Alrighty, everybody. I hope you all had a good time today. Got to learn something a little bit. Had some entertainment. Maybe a little mystery and intrigue. Ooh. And I'll catch you on Wednesday. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy yourselves. Like I said, come back with a positive heart. Let's keep things fun. Let's keep things moving forward. Happy to see you join in GII. Folks, if you want to join us in-game, ! Org will make the link pop up for you. If you want to support us and your toes are cold, you can always check out our socks, ! Toes will make that pop up. That is very much appreciated. Hope you enjoy, though. Either way, have a wonderful day, wonderful time. Thanks for the bits, Maverick. Treat yourselves well. Eat something you love. Do something you love. Hang out with somebody you love. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye, everybody. Why are there birds and what's going on? Is it cricket? Why is there? Can we get something a little bit better for the outro? What the heck, guys?